Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Harem with Hinata x FemSasuke x Tenten Council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by JGResidentEvil and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. Who is the true last Uchiha? In many parallel worlds, there are multiple events that may occur. They may have many similarities, but at the same time completely different altogether. And one must ask themselves, what different changes could occur? What could be different from one another? What can really happen in one world? Could it really happen in another? All that can be said is this life has its own set of twists and turns that can lead into any direction. As such, this specific world has its own twists and turns that begin after a beginning revelation. In a deserted open field training ground, 3 long wooden stakes towered over the never-ending fields of the training grounds, nearly touching the sky. It was the hottest part of the day. The sun's heat was scorching for any poor soul who dared venture out at this time. These grounds were almost empty, except for the presence of one eccentric blonde-haired boy who donned whisker-like birthmarks on each of his cheeks which could have almost been considered cute for most girls, and his trademark orange tracksuit. Most considered the boy an eyesore, but Naruto Uzumaki thought otherwise. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto roared out his signature jutsu, his fingers quickly intertwining and forming the necessary hand seal. Instantaneously on command, no less than 200 clones popped into existence, spreading across the entirety of the vast field. They were in front of him, behind him, in the trees, and some were even half-soaked as they were standing at a nearby stream. The real Naruto stood in the center of the training ground, as he wasn't even bothered being surrounded by an entire army of clones that had the same mischievous grins as the original one of the clones who was crouching in a tree branch. "Are you ready?" he yelled out to his legion of clone brethren as he raised his fist with much eagerness. In response to the question, the other clones simultaneously cheered out such as loudly with equal excitement. "Yeah," they shouted in return as all of them charged at the original, some running towards him, some beginning to throw shurikens while others jumped down from the sky wielding kunai. The real Naruto charged forward at a fast phase to dodge the rain of shurikens. Then he took out some shurikens of his own from his pouch as he was ready to take on his own army of clones. He then tossed 3 shuriken from each hand at the clones in front of him. The clones easily deflected them in response as they continued to charge at the real Naruto. "You're gonna have to do better than that, boss," the nearest clone declared as he rushed in with 100 clones behind him. Each had a kunai in their hands. The real Naruto such smirked at them, not feeling corner at all. "Don't think I'll make it easy for you, Databeo," he shouted as he continued his charge. When he got a few feet to the closest clone, he delivered a few swift kicks towards their stomachs, making a few poof out of existence. Then he sent out a barrage of chakra-enhanced punches. This made more to also go poof as well. Then he backpedaled when he saw many clones falling right on top of him. When he got far enough, he stood in his brawler stance. "Time to try something new, wind style, air bullet," he declared as he went through a set of hand signs to prepare his jutsu before he then sucked in enough air before blasting it out of his mouth in small condensed bullets at the clones. Many clones were destroyed upon impact from the bullets, but there were still many more left. Naruto had saw this jutsu from the scrolls since it was some of the only jutsu that he could learn. He tried it out instantly, though he failed miserably at the first time. But he liked the idea of a long-range jutsu, so over the course of the 1-week break he practiced it and all of the new things he had learned every single day. Naruto had at first had only wasted chakra and gained a massive sore throat as a result, but he never gave up, and only on the 5th day, he managed to gain a very small version of the air bullet. But that was more than good progress from someone who didn't got any training on an elemental jutsu. That was when Naruto learned that apparently, he had a possible affinity for wind chakra nature, as it would have taken months to get where he was now. "What?" the clones yelled out as the original Naruto then began to shoot more of them with multiple blasts of air. The clones tried to evade the attack, but Naruto had managed to take down at least 30 clones, but there was still half an army to get through. What's even worse is that the clones are preparing for an attack. All the remaining clones then went through the same hand signs the original, and called out the jutsu's name. "Wind style, air bullet," they all declared in unison as they also sucked in them air before firing as they all hit the original. Though many disappeared from the strains of using the jutsu, it was well worth it at the sight of many air bullets hitting the area where the original was located. "Alright, we got him!" One of the remaining clones cheered as the other remaining clones smirked at the thought of beating the original as they looked at the cloud of dust that was created. Or at least that's what his clones thought. When the dust finally cleared, all they managed to saw was a destroyed log and some small craters in the ground. All of the clones looked at the area with confusion until one figured out what happened. "Substitution," one of the clones yelled out angrily while he and the rest were still shocked by this that they didn't notice there was a shadow right behind the clone that revealed the jutsu, ready to take him and many clones out. "That's right, pal," the original declared. The clone only had enough time to widen his eyes before Naruto reduced him to smoke as a kunai was shoved right behind his head. When the still stunned clones turned around, the original quickly made the same hand seals. "Wind style, air bullet," Naruto once again declared as he sent out 5 blasts of air, but the attacks were only able to take out 3 clones, with only 2 clones able to dodge Naruto's attack by dodging to the sides. The original didn't let this chance go to waste as he charged forward. Crap! The clones all swore out after being defeated with strong punches to the gut. Just a few more clones left. The real Naruto said though he was panting from exhaustion he still had a smirk got on his face. The clones were also panting as their chakra started to deplete rapidly as they were ready to disperse at any second now. Then one of the clones suddenly got a bolt of a clever yet very stupid idea. Well, one thing left to do, he said as he smirked with a very mischievous expression on his face. The remaining clones turned to look at the clone who said that what? The remaining clone asked in unison, as if waiting for the clones to ask. The clone just smirked with a fox-like grin in response. Time go out with a bang, the clone answered. Another clone raised an eyebrow to that, but then they all smirked at realizing what their fellow clone meant. Exploding clones, huh? The clone figured as he and the rest were now smirking the same way at the other one. Now this really is going to be a blast, another clone said as he cracked his knuckles. Then the remaining clones turned towards the original and began to gather all of their remaining chakra, condense it all into one point. Exploding shadow clone jutsu, they all then declared as they rushed at the real Naruto. Like with the shadow clones, the exploding variation of the jutsu was also inside of the forbidden scroll. He found it right under the original shadow clone jutsu, and as the original it needs even more chakra as well as having a good affinity with the creations of clones so that they themselves can execute such a jutsu. Regardless of the warnings, he already knew he had to learn it, and since it was also chakra base, Naruto only had to practice it for a few days. But ironically he managed to learn it was thanks to his lack of chakra control, as he always gave them much more chakra than needed, but thanks to that the clones were able to use this more powerful variation of the jutsu. Ah crap! Naruto got out, paling as he watched the clones come into him all at once, each ready to explode. Suicide bombers, are you serious, Databeo? He yelled out at them while preparing himself for the onslaught. Hey, don't blame us. You're the one who learned the jutsu, Databeo. The clones replied in unison. Naruto face faulted at that response, but he knew they did have a point. They were his clones after all. The clones would do something only if the original one would do as well. Naruto didn't have time to think about this too much though as the clones charged in, all ready to self-destruct. Naruto continued to pant from exhaustion. He was almost out of chakra. Alright, I think it's time to use it. He then decided as closed his eyes, yelling inside his mind. Alright, Fox. I'm going to need a bit of help here, he asked the being inside of him. Suddenly red chakra poured out of Naruto's body, making it look like he was on fire. A moment passed as the clones were getting closer until, reckless little idiot, the QB simply responded in an annoyed tone that was his container reckless decision. When Naruto learned about the QB no Kitsune demon sealed inside him, he figured that the demon fox would try to want and break out by any means. But what he didn't know exactly how to contact a demon. However, his luck clearly decided to work for him at the time, though he sometimes questioned if it really was good or rotten luck after he got to meet said Kitsune, and how he really was. Let's just say, it wasn't what he expected. Flashback no jutsu. It was late at night after Naruto defeated Mizuki and became an official shinobi for Konoha, all of it being made official thanks to the third Hokage for successfully using the shadow clone jutsu. At the same time, the Hokage told the blonde boy most of the details about the QB and the dangers of it, along with apologizing to him about never telling him. Though Naruto did felt mad for not being told why he was treated like that all those years by the civilians, other shinobis, and with the exception of Iruka the rest of his teachers, he still had the heart to forgive his grandfather-like figure with his normal grin. Naruto had soon returned to his crummy apartment later that day as he looked at the ceiling. Damn Databeo, he got out in annoyance. I got the QB that the fourth Hokage fought sealed inside of me, he reminded himself as small traces of resentment were inside of his heart. Now he may still respect and sees him a he idol, but he still hated that he had to bear such a burden. Then after he took a long bath, he was now finally dressed up in his night clothes alongside with his silly animal hat. He was really tired and exhausted after everything that has happened as a yawn escaped his mouth. Geez, I'm really sleepy, Databeo, he got out as he looked at his clock and saw it was really late. Midnight, he got out before smirking. Alright, I better get some sleep, then I gotta start my training. He soon decided in excitement as he then jumped towards the bed and landed with a plop on it. Then his eyes were slowly starting to close as he was entering the realm of dreams. Finally they closed and his consciousness finally left. Drip drip. After sleeping for what seemed to be half an hour, Naruto could soon hear the sounds of dripping water which caused his eyes to slowly begin to open. What the hell, Databeo, he grumbled out as he was still half asleep. Then when he finally opened them, he didn't saw the roof of his crappy apartment building. Instead he was a very thick concrete one. What Naruto got out as he turned his head and finally felt that was floating on a layer of water. Okay, either this is a dream or someone threw me in a sewer again, he then remarked with much confusion and a groan at the thought of yet again having to burn his clothing. But when Naruto stood up, he got a good look around and saw that this sewer was completely different than any he had ever seen or been before, as it had thick pipes that were puke yellow while another was a thicker pale red. They had this strange feel to it, along with seeing multiple corridors with the pipes going in and out. Then where the hell am I, Databeo? He asked himself as he continued to walk through the sewer. This definitely ain't the usual sewers, he added. But before could do anything else, Naruto then began to hear heavy breathing echo throughout the concrete sewer walls along with deep-toned chuckling from the deepest parts of this strange place. Finally, I've been waiting for 12 years to finally meet you. A deep, menacing voice then growled out from the same direction as the breathing and chuckling. This made Naruto stop dead on his tracks upon hearing this voice, as he also felt a very ominous aura as well. What the hell? Naruto responded with a gulp, as then began to feel some killing intent. That must be, he got out, as he had a very good idea what or who it was, as he began to walk towards the killing intent once more, but still with the sense of dread filling his soul. The closer Naruto got, the more he could hear the deep chuckling from the source of the killing intent. Well, little boy, it seems that you indeed have some brains in that empty head of yours, the menacing voice then stated. To that comment, Naruto gained a tick mark as he soon heard that little remark about his intelligence, but continued to move forward. Soon enough he arrived at the source. There was a very large room which had a massive gate with huge and thick bars. Naruto could only stare at the gate with a baffled expression on his face. Whoa! Naruto got out in both amazement and slight fear, as he had to admit that this gate was ridiculously big. If he had to make a rough estimate, it would probably be twice as big than the village's gates. The fourth really knew how to make a sealed database, he thought to himself, as he was really impressed of the late Hokage's incredible skill in seals. But there was one thing that he really wanted to know, but how the hell does this fit inside of me? He then asked himself, as he tilted his head with a confused expression. And as if reading Naruto's thoughts, the most powerful of all the giants chuckled with an evil tone. This is a mindscape. Nothing is impossible in here, even if it is inside of an idiot meat sack like you. It stated with a demeaning tone. This caused Naruto to gain an even larger angry vein on his forehead when he heard yet another remark on his intelligence. Oh, shut it. It's thanks to you that I barely got an education in the first place, since every single teacher I ever had, with the sole except of Iruka-sensei, ever taught me anything at all. Databeo, he remarked as he pointed at the demon fox. The Kyuubi merely scoffed to that, not even fazed by what was said. So do I have the pleasure of finally meeting my jailer? He then asked, as he wanted to get straight to the point. Naruto meanwhile had finally calmed himself down, as he then once more looked at the demon fox with narrow eyes. Like it or not, you're stuck in here with me and I won't be letting you out, he stated with conviction. In response, Kyuubi narrowed his own eyes to that response, clearly not liking what the blonde had just said. I see you are already maturing, you little brat, he remarked with a strangely calm yet angry tone. Naruto, however, was able to pick up the strange combination of tones and couldn't help but be confused as a result. But regardless of that, he decided not to think of it too much. After what happened with that bastard Mizuki, I told myself that I had to grow up, he began. So? Kyuubi asked, not even caring what his container had to say. Basically that means that I know that if I die, you die too. Naruto then explained. You want to live, then you gotta give me your chakra when I need it, he added while crossing his arms over his chest. The Kyuubi soon had a furious look on its face as he grinded his large fangs. He then tried to slam his huge claws between the cage bars. But Naruto was far enough for the claw not reach him, though it did give him a fright by the surprise attack that he fell on his behind as he looked at the very sharp claw only a few centimeters away from his head. I will give you nothing. The only reason I ever gave the last container any of my power was that they forced me to give it to them. Just like that, Big It then started before stopping himself at a certain part before growling at his current container. When Naruto heard the sudden stop from the Kyuubi's rant, he began to stand up again as he raised an eyebrow when he noticed that he cut off at a certain part. What was that? He then thought in confusion. The Kyuubi simply decided not to say any more and just continued to glare at Naruto. Anyways, he refused to give any more of my chakra to an arrogant ant like you, the Kyuubi then added. This made Naruto look at the most powerful of the 9 Bijus with a startled and confused expression. After all, Naruto may have been called many things in his short life, such as demon, orphan, dead last, brat, wannabe Hokage and a prankster, but no one had ever told him that he was arrogant. Sure, he tended to act a bit stubborn with some things, but he was never arrogant, as him himself never liked being compared with anything to the proud duck but Rookie of the Year. I'm nothing like the Team Databeo, he responded. Kyuubi just scoffed again, but only this time with disgust at his host. Then what do you call demanding something that is not yours? If that isn't arrogant, then what is? He then demanded the answer to his question. That instantly caused Naruto to shut up, as he was now really gave some serious thought of what the most powerful Biju had just said. That's he started, but trailed off as he couldn't find the words to denial what the demon fox just said. The shadows hid the Kyuubi's smirk as it looked at his container as he began to really think about what said, but more so that he was actually giving some thought to what he said, something no human had ever done before, not for a long, long time. You demand my power, yet you have no rebuttal when someone talks back to you in a matter like this, he stated with its own arrogance in its voice. Why do you even want my power? Just to help you out to your desperate dream of being loved and cherished, and not even caring about the being you took it from. It then began to ask as he then his face became serious and angry as well. That's arrogance and selfishness. They will never care for you that way. That will only create more fear and hatred towards you even more. He then declared with heated anger. Though the Kyuubi was insulting Naruto, said boy couldn't help but see some truth of what the Biju was trying to tell him. If he was being honest to himself, Naruto did wanted to use his chakra to help him fulfill his dream, but he never thought of it that way. If you're so smart then, what do you think I should do? He then asked with a huff as he crossed his arms once more. Though deep down, he really wanted to know what he should do, but he didn't want to give the QB the sense he was right about anything. Then he tore back towards him. But I'll never give up on my dream, he added with conviction as his eyes held undying determination as he would never abandon his lifelong dream. The QB finally calmed down when he heard the question, as he once more chuckled to the question as it already figured out what its container was thinking. Never said you shouldn't brat but to answer your question it really simple that even a nearly brain dead like you could understand he began with a mocking tone, which only made said boy to gain multiple tick marks around his face for yet another remark at his intelligence. But before he could shout it out his anger, the demon fox continued. Find something that you want to truly protect it then simply answered with a calm and complete seriousness tone, holding the boy from shouting. Something that you would die for, just for the sake of keep that one thing safe it then added. This really surprised Naruto. He was expecting many things, like something along the lines of killing or destroying everything as that's what he always believed what the nine-tailed fox would try to convince him. But he really didn't expect such an honorable and humane reply to his truly serious question. To be honest I really didn't thought you would really give me a really good answer, let alone say something like that, he replied with a humble tone. The most powerful Biju looked at Naruto with a very calm and wise look in his enormous face. I am many things brat but it was your world's own history that made me a monster that everyone think I am the QB then remarked. This made Naruto to really think over what he was taught he knew of the most power and evil Biju. Then he added that to what he just saw firsthand and he realized that the QB wasn't like thought he was. Sure he could just believe that he was just saying that to trick him, but the honest in the QB's voice made him doubt that notion. Then Naruto remembered what he was told to do so he could get the power of the QB no Kitsune. But I already have people I want to protect. Gigi, who was like my grandfather I never had, though I'm still be a little mad at him for not letting me about you. I still care for him. Iruka-sensei, since he was like the father I never had since my real ones died when I was born. And the Ichirakus who never saw me as anything else than a normal kid. There's already a lot of people that I want to protect. Databeo. He then exclaimed the last bit while giving one of his true smiles, a simple soft smile that was filled with pure happiness. To that, the QB watched Naruto with its millennium-old eyes as he watched for any deception. When he found nothing but sincerity and honesty, he did something no one in a millennia had ever saw him do. Smiled softly for the first time in his long life. Well then, he suddenly then started as his voice sounded much more calmer, and with a hint of satisfaction in his tone. That's good enough for now brat, I'll give you some of my chakra. He then simply declared. In response, the words didn't register in Naruto's head as he blinked a couple of times. Eh? He got out in confusion. This caused the QB to chuckle as he was expecting such a response, seemingly knowing that the blonde would react like that. See, this is why everyone calls you an idiot, you're really slow in the intake. He then taunted in good humor, which in turn caused Naruto to replace his confused expression to a furious one. I said I'll let you have some of my chakra when you need it. But remember, there are consequences for using the power, such as he then answered, but before he could say any more, his container started to yell in annoyance. Hold on. Where the hell did this come from, Databeo? Naruto then exclaimed his question in complete and utter confusion as he pointed at the demon fox. I just heard you saying that you always fought with your last two containers and tried to escape. Now you actually give me some of your chakra, he added as he was both suspicious and confused. The QB once just scuffed to that. As I've said, what I want is freedom, to do as I pleased. He stated with a very strange tone as well as with an equally strange chuckle. Naruto could have sworn that he heard the same strange chuckling from somewhere. But he took it as him trying to get out and finished what he started 12 years ago. Wait a minute. You just want to destroy Konoha, right? He then accused as he pointed at the demon. The QB just sighed in annoyance. Baka, if I actually wanted to do that, your village would have been destroyed before I was forced to fight that tree maker. It then explained his piece. Naruto could see the logic in that, but he could somehow feel that there was a very intense yet well-hidden hatred in its voice when the fox said tree maker. However, your first Hokage had a different reason for his dislike for me when I was in the first person I was sealed in. It then added as it then started chuckling again. Wait a minute. Naruto then got out as he then listened closer to the chuckling that was heard, as he finally recognized it, and where he had heard it before. It was from some of the men that were in front of magazine store while looking at the dirty magazines. As naive as Naruto was on certain things, he still managed to connect the dots, as his eyes widened from the realization. You're a pervert, aren't you? He shouted the accusation, while pointing at the demon fox with a tick mark on his forehead. Then the most powerful and most dangerous creature in all the shinobi nations and probably the whole world did something Naruto never thought was possible, began to laugh his ass off as he didn't refuse that accusation. That's when Naruto realized yet another very important fact. Oh good Kami, I have a pervert sealed inside of me. He got out as dread filled his very being. It was worth placing the influence for the idea for that sexy jutsu of yours in that little head. That and the already perverted villagers at the red light district that I accidentally destroyed. QB then stated with a smirk, as he then looked at the expression of disbelief on his container's face. You really thought the idea for creating that jutsu just came from nothing, brat? He remarked the question and still smirking. Naruto's eye merely twitched as he watched the demon fox laughing in a perverse tone. Kami dammit databao, he got out, knowing that things were going to be interesting between the two from now on. Kai. The Kyuubi's crimson chakra soon began to radiate intense heat, so much so that even the clone's lips began to dry up, and they were still over 10 feet away from him. Naruto's physical characteristics soon began to change. His nails turned into sharp claws, his canines grew longer and sharper, his whisker marks turned thicker and darker shade. Finally, his eyes turned from cerulean blue to blood-red color, as his pupils turned into fox-like slits. Naruto then turned to look at the clones with a feral look that could even scare grown men, as he swiped his hand through the air, causing a small shock wave to take out at least half of the shadow clones. One of the clones that had managed to survive the attack, he looked at the original with a shock expression. Crap! He's gone, Kyuubi! That clone warned before he was immediately destroyed by Naruto as he dashed from his location at twice the normal speed and slammed his fist into the clone's face. But no sooner that happened, all the other clones surrounded him. They each made different hand seal as fast as they could. Wind style, air bullet, half of the remaining clones as they send multiple air bullets. But by doing so they also disappeared from using their remaining chakra. Exploding shadow clone jutsu. The other clones called out as they ran right at front the Kyuubi power-up Naruto, causing a massive explosion around him. But what would surely mean death for any other ninja, it was nothing too life-threatening for the number one unpredictable knucklehead ninja of Konoha. As he did what many would call a reckless and suicidal move, he channeled a good portion of the Kyuubi's chakra into his throat as he crossed his arms. Just as the bullets and the explosion were a few feet at him, Naruto had managed to gather enough chakra at his throat to unleash a massive beastly roar that blocked most of the attack. This caused an explosion to expand it and released a huge shock wave, tearing down the surrounding trees and making a small crater around where the blonde was last seen with a pillar of smoke rising. Naruto stood in the center of the crater, as the smoke eventually cleared itself. His orange track suit was more than just a little torn. It was in near ruins, having many burned part from the explosion. He knew he will need a new one after this. He wasn't much better, but the wounds were minor in comparison to what the damage could have been if he had took the full force of the attack, and thanks to the Kyuubi's chakra, the wounds were healing already. He would be at full strength again with a good long hour's rest. Well, that was intense, Naruto got out in a strained tone, no doubt from the exposure of the Kyuubi's chakra into his system as he waved his hand to blow out the smoke. From inside of the seal, Kyuubi only scoffed at that. No kidding, you idiot, that was both stupid and reckless. Now I'm all good with being stupid and reckless in a real fight. But not when you use my chakra, he commented. You know the consequences of using my chakra unless it's as a last-ditch option. He then added. Naruto merely sighed to that as he looked up and saw that it was already night, the full moon shining down over him. Flashback no jutsu. After the two settled down after the pervert issue, the Kyuubi looked at Naruto with a very serious look. Alright kid, here's the thing about using my chakra. He began as Naruto for once stood there waiting to hear what he was about to say. It will give you a big power boost to all your natural abilities and jutsus. But the more and the longer you use it, the more it will burn your skin if you overuse it. But above all, any negative emotions can greatly affect you in the worst possible way and will most likely make you go berserk, which will make you attack enemy or ally alike. He explained. Any other questions, kid? He then asked. Naruto took everything Kyuubi said to heart as he began to think of anything he could ask. After a moment or two, he finally thought of something. Just one, can I use it to train? Naruto asked. As long as you don't abuse it like the baka that you are, it should be okay for a few minutes, but only if you don't overuse it, Kyuubi remarked as his chakra then began to slither at Naruto. Another thing, you might get a small enhancement of your natural abilities as a result. He added. Wait, what? Naruto exclaimed, but couldn't say anything else as he was tangled by the red bubbling chakra. He then got out. Don't overreact to it, the demon fox ordered in a casual manner as he watched the events unfold. It's like I said, I'm just going to give you a small enhancement of things you already had, such as hearing, smell, sight, reaction time and a good healing factor. Though it can be increased its effect even more if you used of my chakra, but you still have to be careful, or you could overload your sense and damage your body. The demon fox explained with his eyes closed while his container was being swallowed by the chakra. Kai. Naruto was still mad about the idiot bit, but he was sure not to overuse it, because he really didn't want to attack his allies and friend, but he really liked that slight boost of his regular abilities. Then after taking a deep breath and stretch a bit, he figured he had done enough training today. Naruto started walking home. The cool night breeze felt good after hours of intense training, monster stamina or not. Unbeknownst to the Uzumaki, someone, whose face was covered that to a mask, was watching him as he left. Man, that gave me a scare. I thought I would had to get involved if he had gone berserk. The masked man commented with a relieved tone in his voice. Hokage-sama just had to give me this mission, he grumbled as he thought back to when his leader ordered him to watch over Naruto. Flashback no jutsu. In the Hokage's office, Hiruzen had just summoned the masked man just after Naruto had left. Do you understand? You must watch over Naruto-kun until the time for the team placements, the third Hokage ordered. Sir, this is a tall demand, the masked man stated with some hesitation tone in his voice. It could be very dangerous for him to train with all the high-level jutsu he is trying to learn. It could let the Kyuubi's chakra out, and it could result in him going berserk. He then elaborate. Hiruzen nodded to this in response. I understand what you mean, but that is the reason you will be watching him from the shadows. If it gets drastic or possibly dangerous, you will be there to calm it down with your power. He explained. I'm not questioning your decision and I'll fulfill it to the best of my abilities, it's just I'm worried if Naruto uses the Kyuubi's chakra, be it by choice or by accident, this early stage could result in him having to rely on it, which could be very dangerous, for both himself and those around him. The masked man explained his piece. Hiruzen merely chuckled in response to that. Naruto is a stubborn boy, he isn't someone who will want to completely rely on the Kyuubi's power. You may not have seen it yet, but he is someone who will actually work hard and always trains until the point of exhaustion. He soon started his explanation. With that said, the masked man just bowed deeply. Very well, Hokage-sama, I trust your judgment, he stated with complete calmness, knowing that he could trust the leader of the village as he then left to fulfill his mission. The old Kami no Shinobi just chuckled once more as he then walked towards his window and looked at Naruto heading to his apartment. Did you really think I wouldn't know that you got more than just a shadow clone from the scroll, Naruto-kun? He thought to himself with a smile on his face. He already knew that Naruto had taken more jutsus from the Forbidden Scroll, but since those jutsu were only dangerous to those with low chakra, he decided to let Naruto have them for his arsenal. After all, with his enormous amount of chakra he possessed, those jutsus will not be of any danger to him. I just hope that this is a good start for you to forgive me, he then added with a sad smile, as he knew that though Naruto did forgive him, the smile he gave before was one of those that he uses to those he tries to fool or to try to hide his resentment towards others. I will make this right, he said in a low but with determined voice before remembering the stack of paperwork, causing him to groan in annoyance. Kai! And just like his leader had told him, the masked man did saw the pure determination and hard work Naruto displayed during his self-training. He was very impressed with the fact that he managed to, more or less, execute those high-level jutsus after only a week of practicing them from early mornings to late at night nearly non-stop. Though he still has a long way to go before he can even use them properly and efficiently. He has a horrible chakra control, he thought to himself as he sweat drop at the many times Naruto tried to use the jutsus only to blow up on his face, literally. He soon watched as Naruto was, though wobbling in each step, left after he put on a spare set of clothing he had brought with him. Well, I guess this mission is finished, better go and report to Hokage-sama of Naruto's progress, and that there wasn't any need for my involvement. The masked man concluded as he left to do just that via smokeless Shushin. At the streets of the village, Konohagakure was eerily quiet at this time of the night, where if someone had dropped a samban, it would have sounded like someone had dropped a metal pipe. But growing up in a ninja village since the day he was born made Naruto used to it. This was Naruto's usual way back home after his long training session, as it was both on his way back home and by Ichiraku Ramen too, wanting to get something to eat before he went to bed, only to find it had already closed for the night. Damn it, he said with a depressed tone at the close sign, though Ichiraku had a habit of closing late, in order to better accommodate ninja who trained or arrive after a mission until late in the night and didn't feel like cooking. So for it to be closed meant Naruto had been training harder and later than usual. Naruto let out a big sigh. Guess it's cupped ramen tonight. Naruto got out as he continued walking to his apartment with slouched shoulders, but after a couple of blocks he started to smell something funny in the air. After what the Kyuubi told him about using his chakra, Naruto had finally starting to notice that his senses had indeed gotten a lot better than before, even if there were small residue from earlier use. So much so that he could now recognize a person just by the smell of them. This was the reason why Naruto had been training extremely hard since then, so that this wouldn't cause problems later on. Wanting to train with the Kyuubi's chakra to get his body to adjust to the changes or risk having his senses go overloaded by their new sensitivity. And all while the Kyuubi's chakra was still flowing through him from the earlier use, his senses were, for the moment at least, sharper than even those of the Inuzuka clan. It took about a day for this effect to wear off and returning to normal, though that depends on how much of the Kyuubi's chakra he used and would still remain in his body. He had been training with the Kyuubi's chakra for only a week, but had learned a lot about his new sensing abilities. One thing he learned is that along with their own scents, every man and woman had a second scent, one more pungent to those able to smell it. It told him if it was a man or a woman. He still hadn't figured out how it worked, but he knew the two scents were definitely for a man and a woman. That's why the scent present to him was very confusing. That smells like Sasuke, but why is there a girl's scent mixed in? He pondered as his face suddenly turned from his confused to horrified. What if him and Sakura-chan? He soon exclaimed as he imagined the scene in his head, Sakura draped on top of Sasuke, their bodies only covered by a dark blue blanket, and each other's arms. Imaginary Sakura's face was as red as a rose as she looked at her partner. Sasuke-kun, I love you, she gently whispered in a love-filled tone. Imaginary Sasuke's smirking face as he guides her face closer to his own. HMP, of course you do, he said, as if it was something to be expected. Their faces come even closer until their lips almost meet. That's where Naruto shook his head, wanting to end the revolting scene before it went any farther. No frickin' way Databayo, he declared. Determined to stop things before they even get started, Naruto followed the 2 cents, and it led him to Sasuke's apartment. Bastard, he took her back to his place. Alright pal, that tears it, Naruto declared as he gathered some of his chakra to his feet to jump up and grabbed onto Sasuke's patio. Ever since the Uchiha massacre, Sasuke has stayed in an apartment the Hokage assigned to him as he didn't want to live where his family was murdered. It was located on the second floor of an apartment complex about 10 minutes away from Naruto's place. Sasuke had the same financial setup with the village as Naruto did since the massacre of the Uchiha clan, although Sasuke's apartment was a lot nicer and most if not all of his appliances were in perfect working order. The village supplied orphans like them with money every month to live off of until they graduated from the academy and could earn money from mission after a year. Naruto soon backflipped into the air, doing a complete 360 as he landed on Sasuke's patio railing. While he stood on the railing, Naruto peered through the patio window, poking his head out from the side, trying to see what was happening. What he saw next was not what he expected. What the? Naruto whispered as he looked in. He definitely saw what looked like Sasuke, but something was off about him. He could only see his bare back, he had no shirt on at the moment. In fact, the only clothes he seemed to be wearing were a pair of blue boxers, but they seemed to be shorter than what most guys he knew wore. He had an hourglass figure, and his hair flowed down his back all the way to his butt and looked silky smooth, just as his skin did. Near the upper back area, Naruto could see there seemed to be some bandages bounding something but wasn't exactly sure what. That weird, but anyways, I don't see Sakura-chan in there at all, and how the hell did the teen grow his hair out in such a short time? Naruto muttered out as he asked the question. In the seal meanwhile, the Kyuubi was laying down on the floor as he smirked at what Naruto was thinking, as he already figured it out what was going on. Looks like the kid is about to learn a really interesting little secret, he thought to himself as he decided to not interfere and let things play out. Naruto however shuddered before swallowing his pride and banged a fist on the door once. Damn it! Why the hell am I even doing this? Grr, it's cause I have no idea if that bastard took Sakura-chan, he thought in a small fit of agitation. After a few moments, the door opens up revealing Sasuke in a sleeping kimono, but with something seeming a bit off, seeing as how Naruto can smell the scent of a girl coming off him and that his hair was somehow short again, clearly contradicting the way he just saw him with his hair down. What do you want, Dobe? Sasuke then asked in annoyance, though he was strangely sweating as if he was really nervous about something. When Naruto saw the nervousness of Sasuke, he glared at him as he thought he was right about Sakura being here, then taking a deep breath and narrowing his eyes at Sasuke. Where's Sakura-chan? He began, getting straight to the point. Did you take her here? If you did, what did you do to her team? He then questioned in a slightly rapid speed. Sasuke meanwhile raised an eyebrow to that before returning to his normal glare. Why in Kami's name would I bring that pink-haired deadweight to my home? Do I seem like the kind of person who takes pleasure in her loud unholy banshee voice? He growled out once more in annoyance, irritated by the questions. Naruto's eye twitched at all the insult the Uchiha was give the girl he crushed on. Then why do I smell a strong scent of a girl here at your place? Either you're lying or something weird's going on here, team. He then yelled in anger before taking a few sniffs of air discreetly. From within the seal, the Kyuubi was using all of his willpower not to burst out in roaring laughter, as he was enjoying this very entertaining show. In response to the declaration, Sasuke stared at Naruto in shock expression for a brief moment, before going back to a calm facade. I don't know what you are talking about, Dobe, but I haven't brought any girls in my apartment. If there were, I wouldn't be able to get a good night's sleep with their infuriating non-stop bellowing. So you better leave before I kick you out, he calmly stated before he gave one last glare at the blonde before turning around back to his home. Naruto huffed out and said while unconsciously drawing a bit of Kyuubi's chakra as his eyes briefly turned crimson before it turned back to normal. Fine, if you don't want to tell me, I'll go to the Hokage, fellow Konoha shinobi or not. I will go to the old man since you could be hiding something dangerous or putting another fellow shinobi in danger, he countered in a serious manner. This sudden declaration made Sasuke made a complete halt. Then when he turned around to face Naruto, his face turned to complete shock by both the sudden change of eye color. He then shook his head as he tightened his fist. Would the Dobe really run to the Hokage for this? That idiot wasn't supposed to find out like this at all, he thought in rising panic as he now was more terrified by the chance of his secret being found out than the animalist eyes on his former classmate. Naruto meanwhile was getting frustrated by the lack of reply from the black-haired genin that he was ready to blow a fuse. Hey, I'm talking to you, team, he roared as he had enough from the Uchiha lack of a responded before he walked up and grabbed onto the frozen Sasuke's shoulder, forcing him to look at him while pulling off part of the kimono by accident, allowing Naruto to catch a glimpse of bandages around Sasuke's upper torso. He barely got out as he wondered if Sasuke had an injury or something. To this, Kyuubi merely smirked as he noticed the small detail about the Uchiha. This sudden action Sasuke to gain a flushed face as he quickly pulls his kimono back away from Naruto and glares heatedly at him while fixing the kimono to cover himself back up. What the hell is your problem, Dobe? Sasuke yelled out in anger although he was trying to hide a flushed expression. I can't believe he actually did that. That was too close for comfort, he thought with a very un-Sasuke-like tone. Listen, Dobe, if you don't get out of my home, I'll kick you out myself, he soon threatened as he was on his wits' end dealing with the blonde genin. This threat instantly made Naruto glare back at Sasuke, not feeling the least bit intimidated. Oh yeah, team? How about a little bet? We go somewhere else and we have a match, best 2 out of 3 wins. I win and you tell me why you have a strong female scent on you. You win and you can keep your secret. He then challenged the black hair Uchiha. What would happen if I say no to this whole thing, dope? Sasuke asked while thinking on the sudden change in demeanor of the blonde's way of thinking. Since when did the idiot can think things through so calmly? He thought as he was actually impressed by the way Naruto thought things through. Well, that's simple. You don't get a fighting chance to defend your secret and I go straight to Hokage GG. Naruto then revealed while crossing his arms. Sasuke's eyes widened to that since he and most of the village knew how close the blonde genin was to the Hokage as they see each other as grandson/grandfather, and it would only take a few minutes to reach him. Crap, I can't let him go to the Hokage. They'll interrogate me if they learn about. Hopefully I can beat the idiot and keep my secret safe. I can't let anyone find out the truth, he thought as he looked up at his fellow genin and sighs heavily, making it seem like he is more annoyed than worried. Fine, dope, when I win you keep your mouth shut and get off my property, got it? He then replied as he was ready to fight with everything he's got to keep his secret hidden. Naruto smirked at his rival. Bring it on. He instantly replied, ready to fight, as he always wanted to have a rematch against him, and now that he was much stronger than all the years in the academy put together, he felt like he could stand a chance. Beat him even. The QB meanwhile in the seal smirked as the two stared each other down. Well, now this is going to be interesting, he stated as he just knew this will be the best entertainment he has seen in a long time. At a private Uchiha training grounds, away from prying eyes, Sasuke was standing just a few feet from Naruto as said blonde was doing some stretches, wanting to be ready when the match start. So dope, what was that about? You could smell a female scent on me. I know for a fact that you're no Inuzuka. So what's the deal? He asked as that was what really bothering him. He was always careful to make sure not to leave any trails, so for him to detect something like a female scent was something he must know so that he could avoid in the future. Naruto, who was already done with his brief stretches, faltered a little by Sasuke's sudden question, as he didn't expect him to ask something like that of all things. The fact that he was actually talking to him as a normal person and not ignore him was another factor. I guess you can call it somewhat of an improved bloodline team. I recently learned about it, and asked the old man if he could explain what it did. Naruto vaguely said after trying to find the right words without giving anything away. You have a bloodline, dope? What exactly does it do besides your enhanced nose? Sasuke asked as he was honestly curious about this so-called bloodline, and how he could actually smell a gender. Naruto just scoffed at the question. I don't think it's any of your business, team, seeing as how I don't go around ask you how your Sharingan works, now do I? Naruto countered question with a defensive tone as he had no intention about telling Sasuke about the QB enhancing his natural abilities. Besides, I don't trust you to actually give you ideas on how my bloodline works, he added. This immediately caused Sasuke to raise slightly his eyebrow, as he would have expected someone like Naruto to brag something about having a bloodline and not care for keeping his abilities secret. Fine with me, dope, I don't care anyways, Sasuke replied as he turned his head, but only slightly to hide his annoyance and his disappointment of not being able to find a way to block or hide his smell. Damn, something is definitely up with the idiot, but what? He thought out of rising curiosity. Are we going to start this match or not? Naruto then asked as his limited patience had finally ran out. Sasuke merely rolled his eyes to that question. Alright, dope, we can have our match here. This training field is far away enough from the civilian homes and no ambush should interrupt us since we both agreed to this, so we shouldn't get interrupted, Sasuke explained as the two arrived to the same training field the Uchiha had used to use when he was younger. Then the genins were finally ready to fight, now to beat him and shut him up for good. He thought as he was desperate to do so. Before the start of the match, Naruto creates a shadow clone to stand off away from the fight to act as the proctor. This made Sasuke to gain a startled expression at the sight of the clone. He made a perfect clone. But how? I thought it was his worst jutsu, he thought to himself as he remembered always seeing Naruto creating horrible clones. Alright, ground rules are the following. Aside from killing, anything goes and whoever forfeits or loses consciousness first loses the match. Got it, team? The Naruto clone said as the real one got into a fighting stance. Now to find out what's really going on around here, Sasuke. The real one thought to himself. How I waited for this chance to beat the team. He added as excitement was beginning to fill his being. Sasuke then recovered from his earlier startlement as he scoffed at the clone's rules before he then got into the Uchiha clan stance. Just don't be complaining when I beat you into the ground like I always do, dope. He taunted with his normal indifferent tone. Right back at your team. Naruto shot back as he got into his brawler-like stance. I'm not going to lose that easily like before, not anyone. He then added as he began to send chakra throughout his body to increase his normal physical abilities. The clone looks at the both of them before raising his hand. Fighters ready? He started as he saw the determined expressions on both their faces. Begin, he soon declared as he then chopped his arm down quickly as the two fighters quickly shot at each other, both of them ready to deliver a punch. As the two closed in on each other, their punches connect with the other creating a small shock wave, cancelled each other's attack and forcing them to jump apart. By this collision, both young genins shook their fist as they were slightly hurt by the impact. Once recovered, Sasuke groaned as he expected to end the match as soon as it began. Guess he wasn't bragging, he really did improvise. Looks like I'm going to have to get serious, he thought to himself before he began to make some hand signs, ending the signs with the tiger seal. Fire style, fireball jutsu. Sasuke got out as his cheeks expanded, and he blew out a medium-sized fireball towards Naruto. Oh crap! The team's seriously trying to killing me. Naruto thought in a panic when he saw the fireball coming at him. He quickly started his own hand signs. Earth style, mud wall jutsu. He declared as a wall of mud shot up from the ground. The unique thing about this wall of mud was that it has a swirl-like symbol on the front of the wall, very similar to the ones on the Konoha shinobi vests Chunin and Jonin had. Another event that had also happened after the Mizuki incident was that the third Hokage decided though he would let Naruto learn all the offensive jutsu that he got from the scroll, he thought that he should give a more defensive jutsu to the young Jinchuriki in the hopes of help him in the near future. And as the jutsu-loving genin that Naruto was, he was more than happy when he was given a new jutsu like a child was given a new toy. Though unlike his wind style, it took him a lot longer to get a hang of it, but he still made some process, making him believe that he had earth as a second element. Awesome! It worked! Naruto shouted with excitement as the jutsu finally worked. What? Sasuke thought in shock as he saw a wall of mud rise up from the ground, completely blocking Naruto from his fireball. When the hell did he learn that? He asked himself as he then gritted his teeth in frustration. This match might have just gotten more complicated than I originally thought, he then admitted in his head as he now saw that Naruto was much stronger and capable than before. The genin exams. Soon after, Naruto used the cover to create another shadow clone. Then he and the new clone jumped over the mud wall as they had just finished making some hand signs. Wind style, air bullet. Both of them called out in unison as a small barrage of air bullets shot towards Sasuke with the intent on doing a decent amount of damage before the clone soon dispersed itself from the overuse of the wind jutsu. Crap! Sasuke exclaimed as he quickly used the substitution jutsu to safely get away from the oncoming attack. Then he looked back and saw the log that he substituted with completely destroyed. How did he get this strong? Was he hiding his true power during our academy years? If so, then why? He thought as he hid behind a training log to catch his breath. Hey Sasuke, if you're wondering why I'm much stronger now, Naruto started, freaking Sasuke out as he thought that the blonde had just read his mind. I decided to take things seriously now. I'm not the same kid from our academy days that everyone looked down as the worst dead last, he declared. Sasuke grunted as he heard this declaration and moved away from the training log. And Naruto could see a different look on the last Uchiha's face. It wasn't the same face of indifference, but of one that just screams he didn't want to lose. Seriously or not, I'm still gonna kick your ass, he yelled in a tone unlike himself as he started gaining distance. In response to the declare, Naruto was briefly shocked by the way Sasuke said that. The hell? When did Mr. Calm, Cool and Emo get this type of personality? He thought in confusion. Inside of the seal, the QB was desperately trying not to laugh as he was enjoying this match. He could practically see where this was heading. Sasuke meanwhile didn't even realize that he had changed his demeanor as he narrowed his eyes at the blonde. Alright, so this version of the blonde idiot is a bit more of a powerhouse now. I gotta be careful, he thought to himself as he was now ready to fight with everything he's got. Where is he? Naruto muttered to himself, scouting the area around him, his body tense with anticipation. Where's the team? He asked himself, as he soon sent another small amount of chakra to his ears to enhance his hearing. This made him heard a sudden whirl in the wind before he quickly took out a kunai and deflected some shuriken that were headed from his blind spot. There, he then shouted as he threw the kunai in the direction the shurikens were thrown. At once Naruto heard a soft thud and assumed he hit his mark only to see that it was a log that he hit. What the hell? He got out, annoyed that he fell for that. Sasuke meanwhile didn't miss this chance of the blonde's startlement as he dashed as fast as he could at Naruto. Hiya! He yelled out in a slightly high-pitched tone as he reached his opponent from behind and roundhouse kicked him into some trees and bushes. Gotcha now, he declared in triumph tone, thinking he finally won. Naruto however quickly flipped on his hands to readjust himself and landed on his feet, he then quickly turning around and watching the team with his smug look. Lucky shot. He cracked his neck quickly as he once again enhanced his speed again and dashed at even faster speeds that caught Sasuke off guard. Then Naruto delivered a strong punch to his opponent's gut that made him cough out some saliva from the impact and was sent skidding backwards. And that payback, he soon remarked. Sasuke slowly began to regain his balance as he gasped in pain and coughed up more saliva. How did he? He managed to get out to himself before he then felt cold metal press against his neck. Give up, team, I got you this round, Naruto said in a serious manner as he had maneuvered himself behind Sasuke and placed the kunai against the base of his neck, as a sign of instant death if it was a real fight. This made Sasuke grind his teeth in frustration. D-damn, he soon got out, knowing that he lost the first round and that if Naruto wins one more his secret is as good as gone. He's this strong, he thought, enraged at the idea of someone like Naruto beating him in a fight. Lucky when he then unintentionally got out. Luck had nothing to do with it. Naruto said with a small grin as he removed the kunai from Sasuke's neck and placed it back in his holster. I've just learned some crazy truths about myself, and then trained to improve myself because of that, he explained, half regretting some of the stuff he learned as his hand unintentionally went to his stomach where his seal was. He then turned to stare at Sasuke and gave a slight confused look. What's up with him? He thought as he remembered how he was acting earlier. Sasuke meanwhile wanted to question what he meant, but knew that the blonde probably wouldn't answer anyway. Fine, then get ready for round 2. He then responded. Naruto then jumped back to create a fair amount of space between him and Sasuke before taking out some shurikens on each hand. Then bring it, team, he roared as he then threw them at his rival. Sasuke couldn't help but smirk at what had been happening. Gladly, he responded as he quickly took out his own shurikens and threw them. The flying stars deflect the ones that Naruto threw. As both barrages of shurikens bounced off each other, the two rushed at each other again, determined to win for their own specific reasons, but now both sharing the exact same thought. I'm winning this fight. The both thought in harmony as they both cocked back their fists, and then delivered a cross punch to each other's face. When the attacks met each other's cheeks, they both flew in the opposite direction with Naruto slamming against a tree causing his to gasp in pain and Sasuke falling into some thorn bushes near the Uchiha Gardens. That one hurt. Naruto got out as he rubbed his back from its soreness from the impact of the tree, while he struggled to get to his feet. Though he had a good healing factor, he could still feel the lingering effects of impact pain. Damn it again, Sasuke muttered to himself as he was once again sent flying by the blonde as he struggled to get out of the bushes, not realizing that some parts of his clothes got torn from the thorns. Sasuke soon saw that Naruto was still down, and quickly took out some ninja wire from his pouch and rushed towards the dobe, unknowingly that a thorny twig was stuck on the tear on his clothes, so when he moved hastily the tear grew even bigger, showing more of his figure. Sasuke then wrapped the wire around Naruto's neck, tightening it slightly only as a threat to cut off his head if he pulled on it more. Give up? He taunted with a very un-Sasuke-like tone. Naruto, who was too shocked about the wire around his neck to notice the tone, then when he saw Sasuke's smirk, he finally snapped out of his daze. Fine, I surrender. This time he got out with a groan as he felt Sasuke releasing the wires around his neck as the Uchiha placed it back inside of his pouch. Damn, I can't believe I lost focus like that, he thought to himself before looking at Sasuke, who was walking away to get some distance for their last round, as he now was noticing his waistline as it was clearly curved inward. Okay, something is definitely off about him, he thought as he was now really confused. By this point, Kyuubi was in actual pain from holding back his roaring laughter at how dense and stupid his container was to the point where he couldn't even speak. Time to end this, Naruto, Sasuke declared as he got into his clan stance for the final time, not even realizing that he just called him by his name. Bring it, Sasuke. You got me last time, but I won't fall for it again, Dadabayo, Naruto said, getting into his stance again, as he too didn't realize he called him by his actual name. The two stare intensely at each other as you could cut the tension with a knife. They both didn't even care about the bet anymore. They just wanted to win this fight as they finally were serious, and will go at it with everything they got. Naruto soon made the first move as he created some clones to distract the Uchiha, while he quickly took out a kunai and began to slash each clone with a fluidity and grace that the clones didn't so much as land a single hit. He then pulled out his ninja wire once more and caught one of the clones. Then he pulled the captured clone and sent him straight to another group, instantly dispelling them. Naruto saw that though he and his clones were stronger, Sasuke on the other hand was clearly faster, and had more grays in his moments that made numbers useless. Damn, how the hell I'm going to hit him? I thought that my air bullet would be fast enough, he thought to himself as he began to think of what he should do. Then he got an idea. He nodded to himself as he began to make new hand signs, completely different from his air bullet jutsu. I hope this works, please don't shred my hand again, he begged to Kami as he finished going through the signs, landing on the dog sign. Then wind began to gather around his fist as a rapid velocity. Wind style, beast wave palm, he soon declared as his wind chakra on his right hand took form of a claw made of pure wind before he swiped his hand in a vertical slash towards Sasuke. This created a shockwave of razor-sharp air slash right after the Uchiha. Yes, he shouted with glee at the jutsu working. In the seal, the Kyuubi started to calm himself down at the declaration of the jutsu, so he's finally able to use it now. Not bad, he got out with a smirk, already knowing the after effects of it. Unlike the air bullet that he learned from the scroll or the earth wall that was given to him by the Hokage, the beast wave palm jutsu was actually given by the Kyuubi as a sign of good fate, as it was probably 3 times more powerful, but also just as hard, or even harder than learning. The air bullet, as one small error may cause massive cuts or gashes in his arms when he failed to do it, made it more apparent, though making him luck that he had the Kyuubi's chakra for healing the wounds. Sasuke, however, could only look on in pure shock at the powerful B, possibly bordering on a rank jutsu that was heading at his at speeds much greater than he could move, so he knew he couldn't let said powerful wind jutsu to hit him. If that thing hit, I'm dead, he thought with a panic as he figured that his fireball jutsu wouldn't be able to block it, let alone had time to perform it. So all he could do was send chakra to his legs and jump back as far as possible, and tried to use the many trees as an improvised shields. The powerful wind jutsu destroyed many trees. This managed to take most of the damage of the jutsu, but some of the remaining razor wind attacks still managed to reach him. Sasuke used his hands to cover his torso and face, though luck was on his side as the wind only hit his already torn shirt. Damn, I wasn't expecting that. Now I'll have to, he started muttering after feeling the jutsu dying down. But, what the? Sasuke then heard the Uzumaki shouted before uncovering his face, and soon noticing him slack-jawed in shock and disbelief with a massive blush starting to appear on his face. Okay. What the hell is this databao? He then exclaimed in utter confusion. Eh? Sasuke got in as he looked at the Uzumaki. What's up with him? It looks like he barely got out just before he then felt a draft coming from his chest and could feel the tickling of long silky hair against his back. This made him widen his eyes in pure terror at what this could only mean. Oh no, he fearfully muttered, pale-faced as he slowly moved his head downward, confirming his fears as he saw that his upper body was completely exposed with 2 mounds of flesh on his chest were free, while also not noticing that his face started shifting slightly into a more cuter baby-like face as it then went crimson red instantly at what happened. How? He thought in a more meek tone as he could only stare at the freed large mounds of flesh. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, as the QB was now roaring with uncontrollable laughter of this whole insane situation. I can't believe it took a jutsu I gave the kid to find out about his so-called rival. And she's stacked of all things, he then declared between his roaring laughter, as he then continued to laugh madly. Naruto, however, was still in a state of shock to even process what the Biju just said, as all he could do was stand there gaping like a fish at the sight. Before then he quickly turned away with a massive blush on his face, as he then realized that he was staring at a very intimate part of a female's body, so not wanting to look like a pervert, he quickly took off his jacket. Oi team, he called out as he tried to sound composed, but failing miserably at it. In Sasuke's head, he, or should I say she, was panicking as she knew Naruto saw everything that she had hid for almost all her life. What d-dobe? She asked nervously as she tried to sound like normal, but it sounded more feminine as a result before looking up to see his head turned and presenting his jacket. Eh? She got out in confusion at the sight of the orange jacket. Here, put this on before you catch a cold, would you? Naruto then requested as he turned his crimson red head away to keep Sasuke's modesty intact. Well, as best as he could, that is. Though still very embarrassed and confused, Sasuke just nodded as she took the jacket as she quickly got it on to cover her ample chest that she was secretly proud of, but also hated it at the same time as it really made it difficult for keeping her gender a secret. Thank you, she meekly responded in a young girl tone, completely forgetting to keep up her male persona. Naruto then looked towards the Uchiha after hearing the sound of a zipper and saw that he, or rather she now had the jacket on, as it made her bust actually look even bigger. Even though she was only 12 like himself, she was in fact very well developed, which he blushed at before he then carefully placed his hand on her own and gently led her back to her apartment. Let's get you back home, he soon decided. Sasuke could only nodded in response as her head was more or less brain dead from all that happened. Alright, I'll explain everything there, she said monotonously as she let Naruto lead the way, though she didn't realize that she was staring at their joined hands with a small blush on her face. The 2 genin then began to walk back to Sasuke's apartment in a quiet yet somehow comforting silence. Near Sasuke's apartment, the 2 genins were now just around the corner of Sasuke's home, as she had her head low while Naruto was still leading her by the hand. Now what do I do? She thought as she looked at Naruto's calm face before she looked away. He saw everything, she muttered in a feminine and slightly fearful tone, as she was too embarrassed to keep on looking at him. And now he'll tell the Hokage and then they will know too, she soon added in her head with even more fear as she then looked at the Uzumaki. Only for hers and Naruto's eyes to meet. This caused the 2 of them to blush red as they then looked away with embarrassment. Naruto in response scratched his cheek from embarrassment. Then the 2 had finally reached Sasuke's apartment. He then opened the door to her apartment and led her inside. Once inside, he then led her to the nearest couch. How about you get properly dressed now? He then requested as he wanted to kick himself for the lack of tact. Way to go taking charge, QB sarcastically commented with a chuckle. Naruto, however, was still too embarrassed to even process what he said as he trying looking at anything but the last Uchiha, but his eyes couldn't help but just stare back at her. This comment from the blonde made Sasuke's blush even more red as she looked at him. She then crossed her arms over her chest as if to try and hide them, before remembering that she was using Naruto's jacket to cover up, which she felt embarrassed of using a boy's clothing to hide her female pride. She then quickly ran towards her room to grab a new shirt. Why did this happen? She muttered with an embarrassed tone while also feeling that having the blonde gen and seeing her upper torso was more important than the fact her secret was revealed to said blonde. She's going to want to know. She got out. Eventually, when she finally found something to wear, she took off Naruto's jacket and placed it on her bed, which also caused her breasts to bounce at the movements, causing her to blush at the sight before she then swiftly got a bra that she normally only used inside of her home, and then put on a normal light blue shirt. Once now fully dressed, she headed back to the living room where Naruto was waiting for her. Once she finally returned back to the living room, she saw that Naruto was sitting on her sofa. Then after she took a deep breath and gathering her courage, she then sat down on the same sofa as well, though on the other end as she stared at her feet, while trying to come with some way to get herself out of this mess without involving Naruto in her life. Soon after about 30 or so minutes of staring at each other awkwardly, Naruto decided to break the ice. So Sasuke, he soon began. Sasuke cocked one eyebrow, secretly nervous about what the blonde would say. Naruto felt awkward, but he knew he had to set things straight. Sasuke, he repeated the name, knowing that this was really going to be awkward for him, as for some reason he didn't understand wanted to be considerate at the person in front of him. Soyuri a girl, huh? He bluntly asked before mentally kicking himself again. Smooth one kid, smooth one QB deadpan from the seal after calming himself down from the laughing he did earlier. This made Naruto groan in embarrassment, as he felt like an idiot as he realized how inconsiderate that was. Sasuke couldn't hide her shock, fully knowing that Naruto got a good look at her during the spar. Why yeah? So what dope? She retorted, trying to sound like his male persona as an attempt to hide her nervousness. But she failed very badly, as it sounded like a cute girl trying to sound like a grown man. In response, Naruto stood up while looking Sasuke in the eye. He really wanted to lift this really heavy atmosphere. He then began to think of what he could possibly say to lighten it. Suddenly a mischievous smile spread across his lips as an idea popped inside of his head. You know, you've got a really great figure, plus an actual set of breasts that any girl would kill for, he openly said, trying to lighten the mood with some humor. But unfortunately it was possibly the worst thing to say to a girl, though he didn't deny what he said was true. Give you an A for effort, but AF for performance. Also double DS Kit, the QB then stated as he was referring to a certain area of the girl. Double DS, he repeated in a perverse tone. Shut it! Naruto roared back inside of his mind. Sasuke on the other hand was taken by surprise by the compliment, instantly blushing bright red before looking away from him. Thanks. I think she honestly got out, as she didn't know what to think since she had never once been complimented by her female appearance, because if she had, she would have taken that as sexual harassment. That's never happened before, she admitted in her head. Regardless, to her, it was very confusing to receive such compliments for her female charms, but strangely enough, she began to felt something warm in her chest thanks to the Uzumaki's compliment. It was something that she had never felt before, but for some reason it felt right to have someone, even if it was Naruto complimenting her on something other than how she was as the last Uchiha or the Rookie of the Year. What is this? This feeling? What is it that makes me feel as if I need to be close to Naruto-kun of all people? She thought, confused at what was happening to her, not even realizing that she subconsciously added kun to his name. A Sasuke? Naruto got out after an awkward moment of silence between the two. Is that even her real name? He thought out of honest curiosity. As if reading his mind, Sasuke was slightly twiddling her thumbs as she was thinking of how to reply. It's Satsuki, she soon corrected in a quiet tone as her face became one of fear and anxious. And please don't tell anyone about this, please, Sasuke. Now named Satsuki muttered her plea as tears began to run down her eyes, surprising the blonde at what she was doing. Naruto could stare at the girl next of him with disbelief on his face. He just couldn't believe what he just heard. What the hell, Databayo? He thought in complete confusion by this turn of events. Sasuke, or rather Satsuki Uchiha, was pleading, no, begging him to keep her true gender a secret. This definitely wasn't the same person he thought he knew throughout his entire academy years. This wasn't the emo, unsociable and arrogant boy he always hated. Something inside of him didn't like seeing this pure and innocent-looking girl begging for anything, so Naruto nodded his head in response to the question. Okay, but is it okay if you could just explain what this is about, and what's going? I meant his is pretty serious, Databayo, he then requested in a serious tone. To this, Satsuki felt somewhat relieved by his answer, though she still didn't know how to explain everything. She got out, still unsure of what to do. Naruto could see that the girl was really conflicted by whether or not tell him anything, so he placed his hands on top of hers and gave her a gentle squeeze. You don't have to if you don't want to. Everyone's got their own personal problems. He then stated in a calm tone. Satsuki blushed a bright pink color at the sudden contact, but she didn't dislike seeing the blushing L quickly let go of her, and began to wave his hands rapidly as he began to apologize for the action, as Satsuki couldn't help but silently giggle at the blonde's flustered face. Then after a few minutes, the Uchiha then took a deep breath to calm herself down. Alright, she replied in a shaky tone, still feeling nervous about having to reveal her deepest, darkest and most guarded secret that she has kept for many years. No, more like she was forced to hide for her own safety to the most unexpected person she had ever known. As she began twiddling her fingers again, Naruto began to scratch the back of his head as he was trying to find the right words to ask. So how long have you been know? He then finally asked. Smooth one kid, smooth one QB said again with deadpan tone. Naruto didn't even try to retort to that, as even he realized that it was a stupid question he started asking. A girl? Satsuki answered as she looked and watched the blonde nod his head. I've always been a girl, but the truth is that I kept my gender a secret for quite a while. It was to protect myself. She started explaining. In response, Naruto raised an eyebrow to that, not expecting that. Protect yourself? Protect yourself from what? He soon asked. Satsuki soon began to tremble at the thought of the very thing that had haunted her dreams as she held herself to stop the trembling. The clan restoration act, she got out, as she began to shiver at the mere name of the act before continuing. I had said in that disgusting act was made so that the last male of any clan or bloodline must take many wives to produce many descendants to make sure that the clan or bloodline doesn't go extinct, but it's completely different if the last one is a female, she began to explain as the Uzumaki could see the terror in her eyes. If I'm that last female of my clan, I am forbidden to ever leave the village or to be exposed to any dangers until I have given birth to a good solid number of children. She began to explain the act as her body began to shake. But that just means that they would turn me into nothing more than a breeding stock, to always be caged like cattle, and I'll never be able to fall in love, she soon revealed as tears started running down her eyes as they stained her clothes and continued to tremble uncontrollably. I don't want that, she blurted out, more tears running down her eyes while falling sideways on the sofa while still holding herself even tighter. I'll never see the light of day again if that happens. The civilian council is already hounding me with girls thinking I'm a boy and hope to have sex with them to revive the Uchiha clan. I just want to be free. To be able to find someone who would like me, cares for me, even loves me just for being me, she finally admitted, not even trying to hold the tears back anymore. I just want to be a normal girl and a proud kunoichi, she declared with more tears leaking from her eyes. To this revelation, Naruto was completely stupefied by what he just heard, as he couldn't even begin to imagine what this poor girl must be feeling. True, he had felt pain and loneliness of being the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, but this was something he as a male could never even begin to imagine her pain and fear. Okay, I'll be leaving now, you're on your own when it comes to the ladies, Kyuubi stated with a joking manner, though Naruto could hear that he was serious as well. Then the Biju cut their connection to leave him on his own. Satsuki-chan. Naruto soon got out as he looked at the girl in front of him. Part of him was telling him that he must do something. No, his sense of justice demanded him to do something to help the innocent girl in front of him, as he finally saw just how much different Satsuki was in comparison to Sasuke. Before he smiled at her with one of his true smiles as he could. No, he will do for this poor terrified girl. Don't worry, I won't tell Soul. Hell, I'll even help you keep your secret, Databayo, he soon declared as he looked at the crying girl, while he gave the girl an undying, determined expression on his face. Satsuki in response quickly brought herself up when she heard that, surprised at what Naruto just declared with passion, though her eyes still had tears. They were now filled with hope by said blonde's declaration. Ah, really? Why, you really mean it? She got out with a shocked tone at the willingness of the blonde-haired genin to protect her, but she then remembered what Naruto told her. But what about what you said about going to Hokage-sama? She then asked with slight fear of the boy actually going through with that. This caused Naruto to flinch as he remembered how this whole mess even began. He then rubbed the back of his head again. I only said that because I believe that your secret could have jeopardized the old man in some way, shape or form. He's pretty much like family to me, and of course I'll keep your secret. No one should have to go through what you're going through. I give you my word, and I always keep my word no matter what. That's my ninja way. He calmly reassured so she could see in his eyes that he was indeed telling the truth. Satsuki, in response to this passionate declaration, had her brain shut down for a moment, but she soon recovered as she did something the Sasuke Uchiha everyone knew would never. Jumped at him with arms wide open and hugged him tightly as if she could, not wanting to let him go. Oh, thank you, Naruto-kun. This means so much to me, she gleefully said as she hugged the boy as she cried with happiness, which said boy was completely stupefied by the sudden action and personality change. I can't believe this. He actually wants to help me. Me of all people, she thought in excitement at this revelation. After a couple of minutes she finally calmed down, as Satsuki was still hugging him but now more softly. Hey Naruto-kun? She then whispered softly, feeling secure from feeling the warmth that she was receiving from the blonde. On Naruto's side, however, it was his turn to have his brain to shut down for those few minutes, but it then restarted when he heard the female Uchiha calling him. Why, yes, Satsuki-chan? He responded softly as if trying to give her reassurance about whatever she is going to ask, as he unconsciously began to gently rub her back to calm her down. This action did its intention as Satsuki began to calm down even more. She then took a deep breath and began to gather her courage to ask the question she had wanted to ask for so many years to someone, anyone, but was unable to from her fear of having her secret revealed. See, could I be your friend? She finally managed to ask as she blushed shyly, looking up at Naruto through her eyelashes. I really don't have any real friends since no one knows about me, and anyone who wants to be friends only wants it because of my name and clan status, so I can get pretty lonely, she softly and depressingly explained in complete honesty, as she kept holding the male while looking at him. To this, Naruto was yet again surprised by the girl's actions and words that he could only watch her for a moment. He had seen girls as either pretty or nice, but he had never seen such as a beautiful girl as Satsuki, nor had he felt such a beautiful girl hug him, or even ask him, the Kyuubi brat, to be friends, as he had a full-face blush that could rival that of certain shy Hyuga. A part of him also felt sad for Satsuki, knowing what's it like to not have any friends, and knew the pain of that is called loneliness. He then scratched the back of his head as he then took a deep breath and then looked straight at the Uchiha's eyes. Sure. I would love to be friends with you, Satsuki-chan, he responded as he smiled widely. In response, Satsuki gained stars of pure happiness in her eyes to the answer. Thank you, Satsuki shouted in a very girlish tone that was filled with pure joy as he hugged Naruto's arm. "Oh Kami, this means so much to me!" Satsuki exclaimed once more. "I finally have a friend," she added in a glee-filled tone. This caused Naruto to begin babbling like an idiot as he could feel a pair of soft breasts against his arm. "And no pee-pee problem," he added nervously with a blush before he then calmed down when he realized something. "You know something?" he then started. "Yes, Naruto-kun?" Satsuki asked as she continued cuddling his arm, looking dreamily at him as her onyx eyes sparkled. Even if they were slightly red from her crying a moment ago, she could only feel happy at the moment for making her first real friend. Cute Naruto got out as he couldn't help but think that the girl holding onto his arm was extremely cute. Not just her face but her personality too. "You're completely different than Sasuke. It's like you pulled a complete 180 and you're a completely different person," he then stated. Satsuki in turn gained a depressed look on her face from the statement, making the blonde regret what he said, although he was still curious about her sudden change in mood. "Well, you see, I had to, or else people would think I'm weird," she got out as she subconsciously tightened her hold on Boy's arm. Naruto was too busy thinking about what the girl just said to even realize what she just did. "What do you mean?" he asked, as he was really confused by her statement. "What's wrong with you acting the way you are now?" he then added. In response to that response, Satsuki loosened her hug on the blonde just a bit, as she tilted her head down. "I'm supposed to be Sasuke Uchiha, the Rookie of the Year, loved by the entire village for being an Uchiha, and the last hope for its revival," she began explaining with much sarcasm in her tone as she slid her arms down off of the blonde's. "If I began to act like a girl it would make people speak badly about the Uchiha," she revealed. "I had to put up the best boy facade I could think of. I just didn't want them all to speak badly about my family," she soon admitted as she placed her hands on her own lap and looked down at the floor in sadness. This time it was Naruto who became depressed as he could understand, but at the same time he could never understand her feelings. He looked towards the ground, not able to face Satsuki. "Yeah, I get it," he started as the Uchiha looked at him with a confused expression. "Well, I get the idea anyway. I never knew who my family, but I have some people that I could more or less see as a family, so I can only guess how you feel," he explained in his own depressed tone. Satsuki's jaw almost dropped to that as she looked back at him with a shocked expression on her face. He didn't even know who his family was? In class he was always so loud and cheerful, and yet she thought as she continued looking at him before remembering that he was an orphan like her. "Naruto-kun," she then muttered out as she held said boy's arm again and tightened her hold on it once more. Normally it would have gone unnoticed by the blonde, but with his enhanced hearing he heard it loud and clear. Naruto looked at the girl that was holding him. He was about to ask her what she wanted, only to be stopped by her sad onyx eyes that were spilling more tears. Naruto couldn't say anything. He was too mesmerized by the sad beauty holding onto him as if she would disappear if he let go for even a moment. "I'm so sorry," Satsuki soon blurted out as she hugged the boy's arm even tighter than ever before. Naruto's cerulean blue eyes widened in shock by this. What was she apologizing for? She hadn't done anything. If anything, I should have been the one apologizing, he thought in confusion as he continued looking at the sad hugging girl. "Satsuki-chan, what dash?" He barely got out in complete confusion. "I am so sorry, I've done nothing but complain even though I knew my family. I shouldn't I mean I." Satsuki's muttered words were stopped by the blonde, who lifted her chin up with his free hand, making her look him in the eyes. "Eh?" she got out. Naruto, however, just smiled at her with a kind and understanding expression. "It's alright, I don't really care about it," he simply responded. He didn't care. He didn't care about not having a family. How could he? Satsuki thought, shocked at this revelation, but she decided to let him continue wanting to know the full reason why he didn't care. Naruto scratched his head in response as he could tell what the girls was probably thinking. "It's not exactly that I don't care, it's just I don't know what a parent's love is, so I can't really be sad about not having it. Though I do have a notion of it because of my relationship with JGResidentEvil and the Ichirakas," he explained before rubbing the Uchiha's head. "So it's alright, go ahead and cry, Satsuki-chan, you can just be you now, even if it is for a few moments," he then offered, giving a soft smile. "And Naruto-kun," Satsuki muttered as her eyes widened, filling with even more tears than before as she began to openly cry into his chest, while said boy continued rubbing her head. She cried not just for her own sake, but she cried for all the tears that Naruto should have shed as well. Naruto couldn't help but wonder everything he thought he knew of himself and the girl in his arms. How had the two been enemies for so long? They were supposed to hate each other, that's how it's been since they met, and that's what he thought should have been. And yet here she was, the Satsuki Uchiha, burying her head into Naruto Uzumaki, the class clown's chest, crying her eyes out from all her pain, and he could tell that she was crying for him as well as she continued sobbing into his jacket while he gently held her, whispering calm words to help her settle down. Naruto then decided to get up and bring her to her bedroom to try and help her go to sleep for the night. He couldn't get over how frail she felt. He was worried if he held her any tighter, she would break as a result. This was what his rival was really like. The ice-cold Sasuke was actually the sweet girl Satsuki Uchiha, who only wanted nothing more than to make her family happy, even if they weren't with her anymore. She was probably in some ways hurting a lot more than even he was. He continued to walk towards her room, holding her as she continued cuddling into his chest. And Naruto-kun, the Uchiha, then mumbled out as she was slowly beginning to fall asleep from both exhaustion and everything she had felt, the fears and secrets that she had locked away from everyone and from all the tears she finally shed. Suddenly, Naruto was brought back to earth as Satsuki began to speak, her face still buried in his chest, knowing that she finished crying and was ready to sleep. "Ah, yes? What's up, Satsuki-chan?" he soon responded. Satsuki was fighting the sleeping spell from taking hold of her as she hesitated to talk for a moment before gathering the courage to ask. "Would you mind if I be a little more selfish?" she then asked. Naruto tilted his head slightly as he was confused at this. "What do you mean more selfish, Satsuki-chan?" he questioned. Satsuki tightened her grip on the blonde's jacket as he walked towards her bedroom, still feeling slightly nervous. Maybe it was the sleeping spell or just the tiredness, but she really didn't want to think of what she would ask meant anything. But she still had to ask it. "Would you mind spending the night?" she requested as her entire body tensed up as she finished her question. Naruto started, but was still shocked. Does she really want me to spend the night? He thought. Satsuki-chan? He got out, but could tell she wasn't lying, and he also knew he couldn't say no while she was like this. Say yes. The QB suddenly roared with a perverted tone. I thought you said you wouldn't interfere. Naruto roared in his mind as he really wanted to strangle him, but thanks to it, he managed to calm down his nervousness as he nodded his head. He didn't know if that was intentional or not, but he was glad anyway, though he would never admit it. Sure, but are you sure you really want me to? I mean, we're kinda alone here, so he hesitated at the last part, feeling slightly embarrassed. In response to the question, Satsuki giggled softly, which surprised the blonde as she nuzzled her head onto his chest as gave a small yet beautiful smile. Don't worry, I trust you, Naruto-kun. She honestly responded in happiness, as her eyes were now beginning to close. Please? I don't want to be alone for this night, she added as she grabbed his shirt. Naruto for the most part couldn't help but think that the almost sleeping girl in his arms could be any more cuter than this, as he blushed more this entire night than he has, his entire life. He honestly couldn't help but think that the female Uchiha was adorable when she was showing off her true colors. Why yup, real swap in personality, he then admitted in a mutter. As tired as Satsuki was, she couldn't help but nod from what the blonde just said. Yup, I'm really good at acting. She ended with another giggle. I can tell Naruto got out as he looked away, not wanting her to see him blush as the two arrived at the girl's room. So where should I sleep? He asked as he sat down on the side of the bed. Satsuki's head began to tilt to the side in a sleeping fashion. Here's fine. She responded as she once again rested her body against the blonde's, using his chest like a pillow. Not knowing what to do, Naruto just looked down at the Uchiha as she nuzzled into his chest. Her eyes were now completely closed, and she had the small smile that would make any man fall in love to this incredibly cute yet beautiful girl that was sleeping soundly in his chest. Damn, Naruto muttered as he looked at her, but not in a hate-filled way like he originally did with Sasuke. He just couldn't feel any negativity towards Satsuki. Don't you worry, Satsuki-chan, you don't ever have to worry about anything now that I'm here to help. I'll protect you, I promise, he whispered softly, thinking the girl was already asleep. He then felt her shift over to get more comfortable before hearing a small voice. Do you really mean that, Naruto-kun? Satsuki asked as she was clearly half asleep. Naruto looked down to see that she was staring at him in a half-sleepy daze before nodding, and putting his forehead against hers, smiling all the while. Of course, Satsuki-chan, I said it before, right? I never go back on my word, Databale. He quietly reminded with just as much conviction as the first time he said it. In response, Satsuki sleepily smiled as she went back to nuzzling Naruto's chest. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she replied as she finally fell asleep. But unlike all the other nights since the day her clan was massacred, this time she sleeps soundly as she slept while feeling Naruto's warmth enveloping her and preventing any nightmare to haunt her dreams. Naruto merely smiled in response as he let the girl snuggle up to him. Good night, Satsuki-chan, he whispered as he fell asleep as well. With those words said, they each soon drifted off to the realm of sleep, each smiling for their own reasons as the both of them didn't know how the future will change with their interactions. Chapter 2. A spicy wake-up call. Earlier that night in the Hokage Tower, in his office, Hirozen Sarutobi, the professor, known to all as Third Hokage, was watching over Naruto and Satsuki through his crystal ball as the two said Genin slept together. The old man gave a calm and happy smile at the sight of the two children sleeping so soundly. So Naruto-kun found out about Satsuki-chan's real gender. He stated the obvious in a mutter. What Satsuki and many didn't know was that he along with the shinobi side of the council had known the truth of who was the last Uchiha all along. Though the old Hokage could have told not only the rest of the council along with the whole village, but he had decided to let Satsuki go on with her little plan of hiding her gender, as he and the shinobi council didn't want her to suffer at the hands of the selfish and possibly lecherous civilian council. The old Hokage knew full well that by law he would have to force the Uchiha heiress into the CRA after the entire Uchiha clan's massacre, but he also knew that would surely cause her to have a mental breakdown and possibly hate the village. So he decided he would rather risk the trouble of hiding her true gender as long as possible than to let that poor girl suffer such a fate. That, and he also had a sadistic desire to see the civilian council's horrified reaction when the time came for the girl to reveal the truth. Now then Hiruzen got out as he went to the drawers of his desk and pulled out some documents. After this sudden but pleasant turn of events, I'd better make some changes to the team squads, he decided as he went through the team documents. He was originally going to place Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura together. After all, it was always the format to place the best, top kunoichi and the dead last together, but realized that was a plan for disaster. After all, the only way for this type of team to work was if one of them must be the heart to unite them together. This format always worked in the past because there was always a heart when the actual test began. But not in this case, though it would be an act. Sasuke and Naruto would be constantly fighting each other. He knew that wouldn't be a problem because Satsuki knew she had to fight side by side as Naruto would do so as well. No, the problem for this specific team would be the third member, as Sakura would have just fawned over Sasuke and not even care for Naruto, let alone his safety. He then went over said third member's name and looked over her file. While Sakura is indeed a very gifted girl in terms of intellectual skills, she is more suited as a genjutsu type, so I would be best for not just Satsuki-chan and Naruto-kun's sakes but for her own if I place her on Kurenai's team to become more experienced with genjutsu and switch her with Hinata. He concluded as he then gave a small sigh. Though I also hope Kurenai doesn't take this too badly, she did want to have Hinata on her team. Hopefully she can bond with Sakura with this change of team members. Plus I am hoping that with Kurenai as her sensei, Sakura would snap out of her fangirl obsession. He added. Then the old Hokage gave a small amusing chuckle. That and it would help out our shy little Hyuga. He then said, it was an obvious fact to everyone that Hinata had a crush on Naruto, but was too shy to say it. Heck, even most of the jonin and some Anbu in the village made one large bet for who would confess first and when. It was actually more like a pool. Some guessed she would confess at the earliest when she graduated, while others bet it would bet when she was in her 20s, and one or two actually bet that it would be Naruto to be the one to confess to her. That would be the day. He thought to himself as he then began to think seriously. This should balance out the teams well enough. Not to mention with Hinata-chan on Naruto-kun's team, she is bound to at least get a confidence boost. After all, Naruto-kun has the uncanny ability to bring out the good to those who open up to him. Hiruzen muttered with a smile as he finished the new team placements. He then gently palmed his face in exhaustion as he went back to doing the dreaded paperwork, cursing the fourth Hokage for giving him back the Hokage position when he died. Now don't get him wrong, he still loves being the Hokage. At still being able to protect his precious Konoha, he would still protect his home. But I should have been in retirement by now, he shouted to the sky. The next day, as the sun was beginning to rise, a rooster crowed out the welcome a new day, while also waking Naruto up. Though he responded by throwing a kunai at it and nearly hit the unfortunate bird, but it missed by a few inches. This made the poor animal to become terrified as it jumped to the ground, landing right on top of a civilian that was taking an early walk and began to peck and scratch at his face. H! The man screamed in pain as he tried to get the rooster off his face. Damn it, stupid bird, Databayo. Naruto groaned at being wake up too early. As he began to wake up, he then looked over to his side and saw the still sleeping Satsuki. The sight of the peaceful-looking girl made him smile. She looks so peaceful, he admitted with a smile. How I got lucky enough to get to know her in such a short time is beyond me, he added, but he was very happy for getting to know Satsuki. But before he could continue enjoying the moment, Naruto suddenly began to smell something terrible, like a cross between a dead carcass and old spoiled milk, wafting around him. The hell? He got out as he pulled his collar away from him and sniffed the inside, confirming that the smell was coming from him. Geez, I reek. I can't go outside smelling like this. If I do, then the civilians will complain that I'm trying to off them with my bad smell. Not that it would stop them from complaining either way, he muttered as he took one last look at Satsuki, hoping she wouldn't mind him using her bath. I'm sure she won't mind, he thought to himself. Moving carefully out of the bed while trying to make sure he didn't wake Satsuki, Naruto left the room to go find and take a bath. Naruto was in awe at how tidy and spacious Satsuki's place was compared to his crappy apartment. He walked around for a few moments before finding the bathroom. The bath was pretty big enough for 3 people to bathe comfortably at once. Wolfie's definitely beats my dinky old bathtub. I usually have to share with the moths, he commented as he was baffled by the size of the huge bathtub that also had a shower attachment. Naruto then started the shower, and while the bath was filling up, he began to pull his clothes off. They were still a bit sticky with sweat from yesterday's intense training and the matches he had with Satsuki. Naruto, now fully naked, he walked into the bath and closed the door behind him, though he forgot to lock it. The warm water felt like heaven as he could literally feel the dirt and sweat wash off him, letting his body relax. As Naruto soaked his body and relaxed his muscles, he went over what happened yesterday in his mind. It was all very confusing, and he wasn't completely sure what to do, or even what to say, to Satsuki. Though he did plan to help her out however he could, as he gave his word and he had no intention of going against it. Meanwhile, back with said Uchiha, Satsuki began to slowly open her eyes, then she began to move her hand around the side where Naruto slept and found it to be empty. This made her fully awake, as she immediately wondered where her new friend was at when she didn't feel his presence in the room anymore. Naruto-kun? she muttered out as she hadn't yet realized that she was blushing when she thought of Naruto as her friend. Satsuki stood up from her bed, stretching her arms into the air with a loud yawn. She left her bedroom and walked around her apartment, looking for her former classmate. Naruto, however, was nowhere to be seen. Did he already leave? He didn't even say goodbye, Satsuki guessed as she sighed, sad that he would leave without even saying goodbye. Suddenly, Satsuki's concentration was broken by a foul smell. It didn't take her long to realize that the smell was coming from her. I better go take a bath and wash up. Thanks to what happened, I never quite got a chance to take a shower, she remembered. Ugh. I feel so gross. I don't understand how some guys can handle being smelly like this. She then groaned in disgust and annoyance, as she quickly made her way to the bathroom. After closing the door behind her, Satsuki began to strip off yesterday's clothes. Since she let Naruto sleep in her bed, Satsuki had to stay in the same clothes she had worn after her original clothes were shredded from the match from the night before. If she had woken up first and tried changing, she would have risked waking Naruto up, giving him another eyeful of her natural-born self again. After tossing her sweat-drenched clothes to the side, Satsuki wrapped a towel around herself, and stood just in front of the door, ignorant of its other occupant. A nice shower will help me get cleaned up, she decided as she went back to thinking about how her new friend, unaware of the pink blush on her face. Meanwhile, Naruto had just finished up as he got out and covered himself with a towel, tying it around his waist and using another one to dry his shaggy golden blonde hair. He sighed contentedly as he was cracking his neck. That was nice, way better than what I could get in my apartment bathroom, he thought as he opened the door to find Satsuki, with nothing but a towel on. It took a moment before either of them realized what was standing before them, causing Satsuki's brain shut down, causing her dropped her towel around her body, exposing her very impressive yet still growing breasts yet again. Ah! Both ninja to be screamed in shock at the sights in front of them that when Naruto attempted to take a few steps back he stepped on a bar of soap and fell back into the bath, hitting his head on tube's edge while Satsuki was curled into a ball on the opposite wall, trying to cover as much of her body as possible, and her face was crimson red from embarrassment from being seen naked yet again. Within the seal, the Kyuubi then woke up to the screams. Oh, what now? He grumbled in annoyance before then saw the naked Uchiha, and felt his Jinchuriki in pain as it didn't take the Biju long to connect the dots. Wahahaha! He began to laugh his ass off at the ridiculous but also hilarious way to start the day while his nose bled from the size of the girl's rack. After a few moments, Naruto regained his composure, and Satsuki wrapped her fallen towel back around her body, with the situation becoming extremely awkward as they both attempted not to look at each other's lack of clothing. The towels left nothing to the imagination. Satsuki then started to blush madly as she couldn't help but take a peek at Naruto. Oh, Kamahishi's so ripped, those muscles are huge, she thought unintentionally as she stared at her male friend. I wonder how big and no perverted thoughts, she added as she then shook her head back and forth as she couldn't help but admire his lean and muscular body. Naruto was also blushing madly as well, but for a different reason. Whoa, do all girls in a clan have big breasts like that? I mean, we're only 12 for Kami's sake, and she already has an axe. Stop thinking like that, he thought as he drank in her hourglass figure and the sizable mounds on her chest, which were only covered by a tiny towel. It's official, you hit puberty, Kyuubi commented as he laughed his ass off again. Though it seems that the Uchiha went through it way before you with her rack, he added. Shut it, was all Naruto could retort as he once again tried desperately not to think of said girl's assets. Then after another few moments their curiosity of the opposite gender finally won over as the two turned around at the same time, and they froze in place as they kept staring at each other, admiring each other's bodies while not knowing what to say to the other. Soon after what felt like hours, Satsuki finally recovered from her self-trance as she broke the silence. I am sorry about this, Naruto-kun, she apologized, feeling as though it was her fault. To this response, Naruto finally recovered of his own trance. It's alright, Satsuki-chan. I should have left a note saying where I went off to, he responded, as he began to rub the back of his head to get rid of the pain. That really hurt, he thought to himself, which is surprising considering you're thick-headed. Kyuubi commented with another chuckle. Naruto only groaned in annoyance, though made sure not let Satsuki saw or hear it, or risk making her believe it was for her. Satsuki meanwhile was trying to figure out what she should say. I'm glad you found the bath though. It looks like we really went all out last night with our sparring match. Her voice trembled slightly, only half sure of what she was saying. This got Naruto's attention and he turned his head back towards Satsuki. Yeah, sorry I used your bath without asking. I didn't want to go out smelling like I did, he explained, as he was just as nervous as the girl in front of him. This started to calm Satsuki down a little as she looked at the blonde genin. No problem, if you want I can lend you some of my Sasuke clothes, I'm pretty sure they'll fit you, she then offered. Naruto nodded his head. Sure, that'd be great, thanks, he said with much gratitude in his voice as he began to calm down. Still not quite aware of what she was saying, Satsuki slightly tilted her head as a question popped into her head. Do you want me to show you where my Sasuke clothes are? She then bluntly asked before her eyes widened. Why did I ask him that? She then thought in a panic as she realized that would be saying to change together. Naruto wasn't doing much better as he looked at her. Yeah, thanks again. He calmly said before he too then realized what he had just said. What am I doing? Say no, you idiot, he also thought in a panic, wanting to reject the offer, but now couldn't as that would make the poor girl feel like a pervert. Satsuki then turned around, unintentionally giving Naruto a look at her shapely rear which made said blonde blush red at the sight, and gestured for him to follow her by wagging her finger. Okay then, just follow me then Naruto-kun, she then requested, trying to sound calm, but inwardly, she was panicking like mad over the situation as she didn't even realize she added kun again to Naruto's name. Oh Kami, what am I doing? What will Naruto-kun think of me acting like this? She panicked in her mind as she felt a little dizzy from all the blood rushing to her head. In the seal meanwhile, the Kyuubi could feel the emotions leaking from the girl as he smirked at the sight, knowing how she was really feeling. Oh, the irony of it all, he said to himself. The two young genin walked in awkward silence. Nothing was said out loud, but their heads wouldn't shut up as they tried to think of what to say next. Damn it, what the hell should I do? It was a miracle I was able to handle this last night. But now Naruto's thoughts trailed off as his eyes slowly started to wander down and stare at Satsuki's swinging hips and shapely butt. The towel teased to expose it at any moment. The bottom of her rear suddenly stuck out from the towel, immediately causing Naruto's hormones go insane, but it wasn't as if no one could blame him. The towel Satsuki had on was incredibly small and she, who unconsciously clutched it closer to her chest, didn't help keep the side currently facing Naruto covered. This made their walk feel like miles instead of down the hall. She got a nice ass, huh? Kyuubi commented offhandedly as Naruto could feel the shit-eating grin on the fox's face, while said blonde couldn't even retort it from his face being crimson red as he couldn't even defend himself from something he was clearly did, which made the Biju only chuckle more. As they then finally reached the room, Satsuki opened the door and pointed to the closet. My Sasuke clothes are in there, you can use anything that fits, she then explained, unaware of what her towel was doing as she continued to hold it. Naruto could only nod his head as he finally broke away from staring at her rear. Thanks Satsuki-chan, I owe you one. He couldn't help but honestly say. Hearing Naruto thank her made Satsuki blush instantly at being called her name with such familiarity. And no problem. She stuttered with much shyness in her tone. Why am I stuttering? And why is my heart pounding so fast? I feel like it's about to burst out of my chest, she thought, worrying about what was going on with herself. Naruto went to walk into the room, while the still absent-minded Satsuki also tried to enter her room, but since the door was for single-person use, it caused both of them to brush against each other, and since they were wearing nothing but towels when their bare skins touched each other, as they felt the body heat of the other, which made them blush dark red, this caused both preteens to turn towards the other and jump back, each hitting their backs against the nearest wall to them. The two just stared into each other's eyes as their face still dark red, not knowing what to say. Then their eyes slowly began to descend and the both of them got another look at the other's body, which made their red face turn redder. After a moment or two they finally calmed down enough, and this time it was Naruto who broke the silence. Sorry about that Satsuki-chan. My fault, I wasn't thinking, he got out. Satsuki's blush became deeper crimson as she then shook her head in response. No problem, could have happened to anybody, she replied, trying to get rid of the awkwardness. Naruto chuckled lightly, trying to get rid of the awkwardness around them. Yeah, could happen to anyone, he said with his usual grin, and rubbed the back of his head. Wow, this is such a fascinating conversation, isn't? Kyuubi commented with a sweat drop as he was now finding this situation really annoying now. If you're going to keep apologizing, do it after actually doing something good like groping her breasts, or her rear that you like staring so much, he added as he leaned on his huge human-like paw. Will you shut up already? Naruto roared with much embarrassment of being reminded of that little fact. The Biju just snorted. Not my fault, you were the one that woke me up, he countered, only to hear a groan in response from his host, which made the Biju smirked at being proved right. Satsuki's blush soon became even darker as she saw the smile. I'll go take a bath and then I'll make breakfast for the both of yous if that's alright? She soon offered. Sure. Naruto responded. Then when he saw her leave towards the bathroom, he closed the door to change. Once fully alone, he leaned on the door and gave a big sigh of frustration. What in Kami's name is wrong with me? Acted like a total moron. Why do I feel this way every time I'm around Satsuki-chan? He then asked himself. I mean, I still like Sakura-chan, but Satsuki-chan accepted me as a friend and Sakura-chan wouldn't even consider the thought of being my friend. She would hit me whenever I even tried to talk to her, he then admitted. The Kyuubi merely chuckled to that as he listened in. Sounds like the kid's crush is beginning to change its focus, he then thought. From an annoying bitch to a busted babe, nice transition. Even if she is an Uchiha, he soon added in his head. Though he really didn't felt any hatred towards the girl, he still said her last name with hatred in his tone. Meanwhile, back inside the bathroom, Satsuki started the water again as she held the towel tightly to cover her naked body from exposure. After it finally filled up, she released the towel and went into the tub. After letting out a sigh of relief over the warm water soaking her body, she began to gather her thoughts of everything that had happened last night all the way to right now. That was when a realization coming to her. Kuni called Naruto that at the end of his name, she muttered as a small blush adored her face. Her father had always told her that honorifics were to be used with the utmost care, and that using them in the wrong circumstance could mean a lot of trouble for the family. Though most Uchihas almost never use such honorifics to those they don't deem worthy, they still were very careful when using them. Though she never liked that aspect, she still understood that about always being careful with honorifics. But after only one night with someone she thought she hated after acting like Sasuke for so long, she didn't know what to do now. As Satsuki was still sitting down in the warm waters, she soon began to look at the ceiling, more precisely at the window that was in the middle as the steam escaped from it, as she stared at the clear blue sky. Why did I ask him to stay with me for the night? She then suddenly asked, wondering what came to her when she made that request. Then she remembered the way Naruto told her that he would help keep her secret. This made her hug her legs close to her chest. Why do I feel as though I can trust him? And why do I feel so safe around him? It was never like that before, Satsuki thought in realization as a light pink blush appearing on her cheeks while more thoughts of the blonde boy came to mind. Naruto-kun, are you really? She then unintentionally asked to herself, as she placed one hand to her heart, while she kept thinking of Naruto. Back at Satsuki's room, Naruto was looking through the clothes inside of Satsuki's closet as he couldn't find any he liked. Damn, no orange, he muttered while still looked for something that would match his tastes. Though as he continued to look, he realized that the main colors of Sasuke's clothes were dark blue and white. After a bit of looking through the clothes, his eyes widened a bit. Oh, Naruto got out as he pulled out a black leather jacket. This'll do, I guess, he decided as he then eventually did found something. Jackpot, he said with excitement as he found an orange undershirt, so he decided to wear that and a pair of black jeans. On his feet he wore black ninja sandals. After he was finished putting on everything, he looked at himself in a mirror that was in the room. Now Naruto may not be a very fashionable guy, but even he knew this looked good. Not bad, Databeo, he admitted with a smirk as he left and headed to the living room area. When Naruto arrived at the living room of Satsuki's apartment, he found a discarded black headband on the table and tied it around his head. I hope Satsuki-chan won't mind, I'll give it back later, he thought, not wanting her to think he was a thief. Once he did that, he then got an idea. I'll send some clones out to go and train. He then decided as he made 15 clones. Alright guys, get to the usual training spot and train your asses off. After a couple of hours of training, dispel yourself one at a time, got it? He ordered. The clones then saluted to him. You got it, boss, they said in unison. One by one, they headed out the window and headed for the training ground. In the seal, the QB scoffed at this. You wouldn't even have known about this had I not told you about that jutsu hidden ability, he retorted. This made Naruto remembered when the QB had told him. Flashback, no jutsu. Naruto was sitting down in the middle of the training field, thinking over all the jutsus he just got. Practicing, eating, mastering my new jutsu air bullet, mud wall, beast wave palm that QB gave me, an exploding clone. Naruto listed off all the jutsu. So many things to do, Databeo, he then groaned out. Now don't get him wrong, he loves learning new jutsus. It's just he didn't even know where to even begin at learning them. Alright, I guess I'll start with the air bullet, Naruto decided as he went to read the instructions of said jutsu he copied from the scroll. It was simple enough. Gathered both regular and wind chakra inside of his lungs and then expelled condensed bullets. Simple enough, he said with an obvious tone, not even knowing just how hard this jutsu was for a genin. Little dumbass, the QB then remarked in annoyance, as he waited for the inevitable. Naruto began to take a few deep breaths to get his lungs extended as it was a tip the scroll recommended. After he was done he did a small nod. Alright, let's get this jutsu done, Databeo. He cheered as he began to make the necessary hand signs and send his normal chakra in his throat and tried to condense it without wind. Chakra. Here we go. Wind-style air bullet, he thought to himself as he then tried to expel the condensed chakra from his throat only for it to expand instead. H! He shouted in pain as he fell to his knees and could feel his throat ready to explode as he then fell on his face. Wahahaha! The QB then began laughing at the results he knew that would happen. Then after a few minutes of waiting for his throat to heal, Naruto decided to try out another jutsu. Let's try something that isn't from inside my body, he said with a sore throat. He went to the second one on the list. Let's try the mud wall, he decided as he began to read the instruction the old man gave him. The user must mold his earth chakra on his arms and then place them on the ground. Then using the concentrated chakra, the user will force a earth table to come upwards to create a shield. He read as again he shrugged. Simple enough, he said again. Why do I feel a pattern coming? QB then commented with a chuckle. Naruto soon began to make the hand signs and concentrate chakra to his arms. He figured since he is forcing a huge earth shield from the very earth it should cost a lot of chakra. Alright. Let's do this. Earth style. Mud wall jutsu, he declared with excitement. The blonde genin smiled with happiness when he started to feel the earth moving. It's working, he shouted as he thought he was a genius to make it on the first try. But, whoosh, eh? Naruto got out in confusion as he was now flying in midair as the ground had turned into a pitfall. Eahe! He shouted as he fell right into the pitfall. Bwahahaha! The QB again began to laugh at the result yet again. After Naruto managed to get out of the pitfall, his was completely covered in dirt. "Oh, let's try it later," he concluded as he began to dust himself off before spitting some dirt out of his mouth. Bleg, he spat out. Once he was more or less clean enough, he went down the list again and decided to try out the Beast Wave Palm. "Okay, hope this will be easier. After all, it's a jutsu to be sent away from the user," he concluded as he then began to recall how Kyubi told him to perform the jutsu. "Okay, he said that I should gather wine chakra around my hand, and then once I gather enough I should do a vertical slash, and that should do it." He said what the Biju told him. Wonder how he'll screw this up, Kyubi thought with a smirk. Naruto then went through the hand signs once more, as soon ended with the dog sign. He gathered a lot of chakra into his hand. "Wind style. Beast wave palm," he declared as he did a vertical slash. "Rip. Tear. Slash." Naruto stood there for a moment or two as he saw his jacket torn apart, leaving him completely shirtless, as he then felt an ungodly pain while his hand got a lot of cuts and gashes. "Aya!" he screamed in pain. "Ach, that was my fault. Should have told him to master some of the finer points before using that one," Kyubi remarked with a sweat drop as he began to send some of his chakra to heal the wounds. After a few more moments, Naruto's hand was completely healed thanks to the fox's chakra. "Okay, let's try the last jutsu where I know I won't be hurt," he said as he read the final jutsu in the list. "Exploding clone. This jutsu is a stronger variety of the shadow clone, where the regular clone gets double the necessary chakra and it will condense it into its center. Then when fully condensed it will explode in a violent explosion. Warning, this jutsu requires even more chakra than the normal shadow clone or risk dying from chakra exhaustion." He read the instructions. "Now this should be easier. I only have to give my clone more chakra than normal and that should be it," he concluded with a smile. Yeah, he shouldn't even. Kyubi tried to think with deadpan, already knowing how this was going to end, but it was too late. Naruto then did his signature seal as he made an attempt to a clone. "Shadow clone jutsu," he shouted as he gave this one clone more chakra than normal. When he saw that the clone came out fine, he smirked. "Yes. Now do it," he told the clone with excitement. He was so excited that he forgot to make space between the clone and himself, so when the clone did as he was told, boom, Naruto was now in the center of the explosion with his whole body black from said explosion. "Oh Kami, damn it, Databeo!" he then yelled, completely annoyed of the results. Bwahahaha. Kyubi was then laughing so hard that he actually was feeling pain from laughing so hard. Then after calming down enough, he wiped the tear that came from too much laughter. "Hey Kit!" he soon began. "What?" Naruto replied as he was clearly not in the mood to deal with him. "Why don't you just use your clones to do those damaging jutsus?" Kyubi finished with honest curiosity. This instantly put a hold on Naruto's anger as he stared with a dumb expression on his face. "What?" was all he could say. "You know what the scroll said about the other part of the shadow clones?" Kyubi remarked as he began to recall said part. "Anything that the shadow clones do or see will be transferred back to the user. In other words, if the clones do a jutsu, you should remember how they did it," he said. Naruto stood still for a good minute as his eyes then became hollow as he began to process what he just said and what he just experienced. "Kid?" Kyubi asked when his Jinchuriki was quiet for a whole minute. "Wait. Are you fucking kidding me? What the hell, damn it? Why didn't you tell me, Databeo?" Naruto exploded with uncontrollable fury. "You never asked?" The Kyubi simply responded with a witty smirk on his face. For all the remainder of the day, the sound of hundreds of Naruto's cursing could be heard at the training grounds while they were practicing their jutsus. That and the sound of explosions, tears and screaming of pain too. Meanwhile, on a nearby tree branch, a mask-figured only sweat dropped, as he wondered what the cursing was really about. "Kai!" Naruto then sweat dropped at remembering that time. "Not one of my best moments, Databeo," he admitted with a depressed tone. Kyubi could only chuckle at that. "You're the one that decided not to fully read the jutsu's full effects and only focus on the first sentence of the description kit," he then remarked, reminding his container of what happened. "Just shut up, you annoying erotic fox," Naruto then grumbled out, clearly not wanting to be reminded of the events as he waited for the female Uchiha. Back in the bathroom, Satsuki had soon finished her bath, drying herself off. As she did, her mind began to wander between what happened yesterday to all that had happened after the massacre. True, she still had the occasional nightmares of that fateful day, but it was then that she realized that last night it was the first time that she had a very peaceful and pleasant sleep in a long time. "But why?" she muttered in slight confusion as the image of a certain blonde came to mind. "Could it be that it was because of me opening up to someone?" she then added as a small blush appeared on her cheeks. "I'll worry about that later," she then decided as she watched the water drain from the tub. Finally finishing with what she was doing in the bathroom, Satsuki went back into her room as she got changed. As she walked back, she remembered something important. "Team selections is today, huh?" She got out as remembered that the 1-week break had finally ended. "I wonder who will be on my team?" she wondered out loud, as she had to admit. She was a little curious about who she would be with. After Satsuki had entered her room, she noticed that Naruto wasn't there. He must be downstairs, she figured as she used this opportunity to use the binding tape to hold her breasts. "Who?" she groaned out as she wrapped the tape around her chest, this being the one thing that the young preteen hated with passion, having to use binding tape to keep her obvious female trait hidden. It's always a pain having to do this every single day, but I have to do this, she complained before a revolting thought appeared in her mind, shivering at the possibility of one of the Sasuke fangirls being placed as her teammate. Dear Cammy, please don't let that happen, she muttered to herself before she got herself dressed in an outfit Sasuke would wear and headed for the kitchen to make breakfast. As she walked downstairs, she saw that Naruto was aimlessly staring off into space. I guess he's deep in thought, I'll leave him to his business, she thought with a gentle smile. What Satsuki didn't know, however, was that Naruto would always remain in this state every time a clone either disappeared after he successfully did a jutsu or the clone had failed at performing it. This would send the experience the clone obtained to the original. The Uchiha heiress then finally entered the kitchen where she got her mother's old apron on. Better make the usual, except I have a guest today, she decided as she once again blushed again at being reminded that she had a friend now. Is this how Hinata Hyuga feels about him? Now I understand why she always stutters around him, she thought to herself. Like many, she too knew about the shy little Hyuga's obvious crush on Naruto. Though she always had to keep her Sasuke appearance, she always thought that Hinata looked really cute whenever she looked at Naruto and blushed cutely that she would always squealed on the inside whenever she saw her act like that. I think Hinata-chan would be the only girl I could handle, she admitted in her head. Then after a giggle escaped her lips, she went to make her family's special breakfast curry, and the aroma filled the air. After another clone had dispelled from overtraining, Naruto was stretching his limbs as he thought that one was the last clone he made. Man, that was a good workout, getting a little better on my jutsus, but I still have long way to go, he admitted as he suddenly smelled something good. Satsuki-chan must be making breakfast, he thought as he followed the smell, leading him to the kitchen. When he reached the kitchen, he saw Satsuki with the apron on as she was setting the table. The apron was a light blue color, as it had the Uchiha symbol in the middle and had white snowflakes around it. Cammy, she looks cute, he thought with a small blush on his face as he finally began to approach her, as he couldn't help but think that she looked attractive in the apron. Damn, if only she was wearing just the apron. QB committed as he began to chuckle pervertedly while sending the lewd images to his container. In return, Naruto blushed crimson red at the images, but he quickly recovered as he refrained from retorting to the perverted Biju. Yo! Morning, Satsuki-chan, he called out to get her attention as he gave her a true smile, while he began to wave his hand towards the female Uchiha. This slightly startled the Uchiha to the point that it nearly made her drop the food, and when she regained her balance, she then turned to see Naruto in his current outfit. Oh, hi Naruto-kun. Satsuki stuttered out with a noticeable blush on her face at both seeing Naruto's in his new outfit and the smile that he was giving her. Wow, looks really nice in those, she thought to herself, as she was thankful that the blonde didn't notice her blushing face. I made some of my family's special breakfast curry. I hope you enjoy it, she then explained as she turned back to the food to try to distract herself from seeing the blonde. Naruto then pulled out the chair and sat down. Curry? He asked as he tilted his head slightly as he looked at the food. It looks pretty good, I never had curry before, he then admitted. Really? Satsuki asked in surprise as the two sat down to eat. Are you serious? She then added to the question. Naruto merely shrugged to the question. Yeah, most if now all the shop and restaurant owners always raise the prices on me, so the only food I ever really was able to either afford or to eat was the Chiraku ramen, regular cups of ramen, some groceries that I managed to get at a low price whenever Irika-sensei didn't bring me something. He casually explained the harsher parts of his life, as he never really cared about how they tried him. Kyubi said nothing to this as he remained silent, while having a very serious expression on his face. Satsuki on the other hand was stupefied by this reveal as her jaw dropped slightly while her eyes widened in shock. He's only eaten ramen for most of his life, she thought as she began to feel an emotion she only ever had towards one certain person began to fill her, burning rage and anger. Why do the shop and restaurant owners raise the prices on you? They lower the prices for me personally because of my Uchiha status, but raise them on you, an orphan. That's unfair and unjustified, she exclaimed, clearly showing both anger and worry for her new friend. Naruto shrugged his shoulders as he then chuckled a little. Meh, I don't mind. I usually just prank the pricks afterward, he then explained as he said it as if it wasn't a big deal. To be honest, pranking seems to help train me in stealth, so at least something good comes out of it, he then added, feeling satisfied that he pulled the successful pranks. It was a given that the Uchiha didn't look convinced in the slightest. But still, Satsuki muttered. She was beginning feeling guilty again, after she learned so much about Naruto, from finding out that he didn't know who his parents were, and that he's only ever been able to eat ramen for most of his life for some reason. She felt that she had took everything she ever had for granted. As if Naruto could feel what Satsuki was feeling, he just waved her concerns. It's alright Satsuki-chan, you don't have to worry, he said with an understanding. He pointed at the food that was in front of them. How about we eat? I'm starving, he then stated. Satsuki's face was still full of concern and worry for her new friend's harsh life. Booty can't help but to worry, she thought as she slightly narrowed her eyes as they were filled with sadness. But as she was about to say something, her stomach growled with a cute sound. This made her halt her question, while also making Naruto chuckle at the sound. I guess I am too, she soon admitted with a small giggle. This managed to lighten her mood a little as they decided to just let the subject go for now. Then as Satsuki was about to take a bite, she remembered something that she forgot to ask about. Naruto-kun? She soon started. Naruto had already used a spoon to grab some of the curry, but stopped before he could take a bite. Yeah? He responded as he turned towards her. Satsuki began to slightly fidgeting her hands below the table as she thought of how to ask her question. Well, I was wonder why did you think Sakura was at my apartment last night? I'm just curious. She then suddenly asked. Naruto winced at the question. Oh well, how do I explain? He then started to chuckle a little as he now thought it was kind of awkward now that he thought back on it. It was your stupid imagination running wild at the time. The QB then remarked as this in turn made Naruto groan internally, knowing he couldn't deny it being true. Satsuki then gave him a confused look with an adorable tilt of her head. What? Come on, it's alright, you can tell me. She then started to give him the dreaded jutsu that make any man into a slave to a girl's wishes. The infamous puppy eyes jutsu that all the kunoichis and even some of the civilian ones seemed to know. Please? She pled cutely as she suddenly became even 10 times cuter while her face and eyes sparkled. Fuck, Naruto thought as even he knew that no man could resist this forbidden jutsu. He was still surprised to learn that it even was a jutsu in the first place since it was just a simple genjutsu where they increase a girl's cuteness. This made Kyubi chuckle at his host's predicament. Get used to it, kid. This will not be the last time you feel its terrible power. The Biju then commented. This once again made Naruto groan internally as he somehow knew that he was right. Well, remember when I told you about me having something kind of like a bloodline? He then asked in response. This made Satsuki recalled when Naruto said so before their match as she ended the genjutsu making herself look cute. I think I remember you mentioning that, just before we had our spar. What exactly does it do exactly? She then curiously asked. Naruto nodded to this. Yeah, though like I said it's not really a true bloodline like yours. Because of this bloodline, it enhances my natural abilities, such as my sense of smell, hearing, sight but not on the Byakugan level. It gives me a nice healing factor to help me heal real fast, and it also increases my reaction time as well. He explained, though he made sure not to say how or where did he gain this bloodline. What? You scared that she will hate or fear you? Kyubi asked in a neutral tone as he knew that he omitted that part of the explanation. To be honest, yes, Naruto replied with honesty, as the Biju wasn't really that surprised, but before he commented on it, Naruto then continued his explanation. Well, I don't really think you're like people say you are, but I don't know how Satsuki-chan would take it. He added with the same honest tone. The Biju didn't say anything, but he did give a small smirk to his host's honesty. I guess he really is different, he thought to himself. Satsuki meanwhile nodded her head to this explanation, getting intrigued by it. Really? So I am assuming it's similar to the Inuzuka clan, correct? She asked with a slight exciting tone, wanting to know more. Now Naruto had to think of how to respond to that as he really could say he used his Biju's chakra to gain super level senses. Yeah, so last night after I was training, I used too much chakra that overpowered my sense of smell. This caused me to smell your scent, but I thought I smelled something completely different about it. He answered as he then blushed, this time in embarrassment. What do you mean? Satsuki asked as she gave him another confused look. Well, I smelled you, but since I didn't know about you, Naruto stated, meaning Satsuki in general. I thought I had the scent of a girl with you and he then trailed off. Satsuki once more tilted her head cutely to that. Eh? What did you end up thinking? She then asked. Naruto just sighed as he knew that he had to say it now. I thought you and Sakura-chan were doing it together, and my imagination got the best of me, he explained before. He lightly chuckled, feeling completely embarrassed. Sorry about that, Satsuki-chan. My wild imagination is the reason why we really met. He then apologized. Satsuki began to process what Naruto just said as she soon looked at him with a disbelief expression. So wait a minute, Naruto-kun, you thought me, she started as she pointed at herself. Yeah, Naruto answered. And Sakura? Yup, we're about to. Together? Basically. There was an awkward silence for a moment before Satsuki started to giggle a little and then went into a full-blown laughter. Now Naruto looked at her in disbelief. He got out in confusion as he then blushed at the sight of the laughing girl. Kami, how can someone be so cute? He admittingly thought. Kyubi just chuckled at the display. Looks like the kid isn't the only one who is different. He thought to himself. After the young girl finished her giggle attack, Satsuki then got up from her seat and went over to him, placing a hand on his shoulder while using her other hand to hold her stomach from the remaining laughter. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, it's alright that you overreacted. I understand that it'd be confusing for you. I mean, you had no idea about me at all until last night. She responded with a kind smile. You mean you're alright with it? Naruto asked as he was half expecting getting a hit or something for saying and thinking something like that. Satsuki then giggled again. I know you like Sakura, but I'm not into her, for obvious reasons. She answered as she then winked at him. It feels good showing the real me to someone. She happily thought at having a friend to share these moments. Naruto then also began to chuckle a little. Well, at least you being a girl explains why you never responded to any of your fangirls. You know, and please don't hate me for this, but for a while I kinda assumed that you were into guys," he finished as he flinched, feeling worried that Satsuki might hit him for what he said. Satsuki stared at Naruto for a few moments before bending down and began laughing so hard until tears started falling down her cheeks while her sides started to hurt. "Oh Kami, ha ha ha, I see, I can't breath," she tried to say in between her roaring laughter. After a few moments of laughing she leaned against Naruto before taking a few needed gasps of air. "Now that I think about it, it would have been so much easier for me to say that I was homosexual if it would have helped me escape my Sasuke fangirls. After all, I am into guys," she admitted in a joking manner. This made Naruto to also laugh at the irony as well. "Yeah. I guess now I know that you are into guys," he commented as they both continued to laugh loudly, though strangely for Naruto, he felt relieved of hearing that last bit from the Uchiha. After the two had finally calmed down, Satsuki then sighed and frowned as she went back to her seat. "As for said fangirls, they're nothing but absolute disgraces that will get themselves killed sooner or later," she muttered but was heard. Naruto blinked a couple of times to that in confusion. "What do you mean, Satsuki-chan?" he then asked. Satsuki sighed in response as she placed her hands on her hip. "Besides Hinata and Ino, who both at least still trained, though Hinata way more than Ino might I add," she began explaining. "Most of the girls shouldn't have gone to the academy as they only decided to go as to try and flirt with me with Sasuke," she then continued. Naruto didn't say anything to that as he saw that more times than he could count, as he then remembered something. "Same with Sakura-chan?" he then asked with honest curiosity. No sooner Naruto asked that, it made Satsuki's eye twitch a little, as it took every single fiber of her being not to begin shouting in pure annoyance. But she didn't, as she realized that now that she was Naruto's friend, she decided that now is the best time to make her new friend see some sense into his little obsession on the pink-haired girl. "Naruto-kun, she's the worst of them all, she cares more about her appearance than her shinobi training." She soon began the new explanation while this made Naruto to become taken back to this. But before he could say anything, the Uchiha heiress continued. "I will say that she may be really smart, but that's only in terms of book smarts, and those aren't gonna be of much help in the field. So if she doesn't take it seriously she could end up getting herself or her teammates killed. I honestly don't get what you see in her. She may have some nice looks, but that's it, is loud, bossy, rude, and she screeches like a damn banshee that could easily destroy the entire village with her voice alone," she admitted as she crossed her arms over her chest. "Can he help the poor soul that ever marries her? Not to mention the fact that she has pink bubblegum hair. Honestly, that's really unnatural," she finalized. Naruto was slightly taken aback by this as he clearly wasn't expecting the sudden insults. But just as he was about to say something, he then heard the QB talking in his head. "She got you there, kid. The only reason you have a crush on her is because of her apparent looks and book smarts. You got a better chance with Lavender Eyes or the Uchiha here," he half joked, as Naruto blushed at the thought about him and Satsuki being together. After all, even he knew that Satsuki was very attractive and cute, but did wondered who he meant by Lavender Eyes. But Satsuki wasn't done yet. "That, and I think she would go and possibly turn lesbian for me if she ever found out the truth about me. That, or hopefully she would finally wake up from her delusion of Sasuke obsession. But really, for someone to have book smarts, she doesn't know the meaning of the word no. I mean seriously. I always say no, but she seems to completely ignore or block it out from her mind and continues to go after me," she added as she shivered at the thought. Naruto was very conflicted to this as he really still liked Sakura. But he couldn't just feel mad or shout at Satsuki either. He tried to take a deep breath but he didn't know what to think. Seeing his face filled with nothing but conflict made Satsuki feel bad, but she knew that Naruto need to face this or he wouldn't be able to both see what Sakura really was or more importantly be able to move on from his slight obsession. "Listen, Naruto-kun," she began, as the blonde turned to look at her. "I know you don't want to hear this, but I really want you to think of what you know of her. I mean, is she really worth getting her to like you even if it meant receiving all the pain, both physically and emotionally, she does to you?" she then asked with both seriousness and honesty as he looked straight at his eyes with a worried in her eyes. Naruto honestly didn't like seeing Satsuki have that look in her eyes as he really liked seeing her happy and smiled. So he decided to give some serious thought to what his new friend told him, then started to think back to all the times he tried to ask Sakura out on a date whenever they both had some free time, but she would always turn him down and hit him over the head as her replied. Flashback no jutsu. At the end of the day at the academy, Sakura was walking with slouched shoulders after she lost sight of Sasuke. She wanted to ask him out yet again. "Damn, I must have just missed him. Sasuke-kun, why do you reject my love? We're destined to be together," she thought with delusion. Naruto had just exited the academy when he saw the pink-hair girl. "Hey Sakura-chan," he called out to her. This made Sakura to gain a very annoyed and angry expression when she heard Naruto say her name. "You want to get some ramen with me?" he happily asked, wanting to have spent some time with her, however. Wham! Sakura glared at the down boy as she just punched. "No! Why would I want to hang out with a monster like you?" she screamed at the fallen boy as she looked at him with disgust, before storming off with a mad and annoyed face. Naruto could watch at the retreating girl as he could only sigh in disappointment and sadness while he rubbed his sore cheek. "Geez, that hurt Databeo," he groaned out as he stood up and decided to just go by himself. Kai. Naruto could only remember such occasions more times he could possibly count whenever he tried to ask her out, to even simply greet Sakura, only to be answered back with a brutal punch to his face and or head, though he really wanted to say something to think of something nice about her. But each time he remembered any occasion, it will always be the same thing. This slowly made Naruto realize just what kind of girl Sakura was. While you're right, he began as he gave one final sigh of realization. Sakura is a bitch, he soon admitted as he rubbed his face, remembering another more recent time when she punched in the face. The QB simply rolled his eyes to this epiphany of the blonde. Took you long enough to realize it, he then commented with a deadpan tone. Naruto mentally sighed at this. You don't need to rub it in, he replied to the biju. Satsuki on the other hand began to giggle again, glad that her friend was starting to realize the truth as it placed a smile on her face. Naruto-kun, I have to say that I envy you with how you have only one girl that has a crush on you, she honestly admitted as she tilted her body slightly, and placed her hands on her hips again. Could I be crushing on him too? She then suddenly thought offhandedly, only to quickly shook it off when she realized. And no, I can't be. We just met like this. I mean, it would be way too fast, and I barely know Naruto Kuen. She thought before hesitating. Booty have to at least admit this cute, she added in her mind as she blushed while looking at him with a smile. Naruto in turn gave her a confused look. Huh? What do you mean? He asked, not understanding what the female Uchiha meant before his brain finally processed what she just said. Wait, someone has a crush on me? He soon asked in excitement. This made Satsuki and Kyubi sweat drop at the same time to the blonde's dense-headedness. He honestly didn't know. Everyone in the village knows it, they both thought in unison. Then a light bulb appeared on top of Satsuki's head as she gave off a cat-like smile at the idea that just came to her mind. Well, Naruto-kun, here's one thing you should know about her, she's been crushing on you since before the academy. She playfully got out while winking at him. Naruto's jaw dropped to that as he then began to imagine it. No way. Someone's been crushing on me for that long. He got out as he just couldn't fathom the fact that someone would even look at him without hatred or annoyance, let alone have feelings for him. How the hell did I miss that databao? He then exclaimed as he felt like banging his head against the wall for not realizing that some girl actually was in love with him. I'd be more shocked had you actually known, Kyubi said with a deadpan tone. You knew too? Naruto replied as his annoyances finally reached its peak. What the hell, databao? He exclaimed once more. Why not let the Uchiha tell you about your true love? Kyubi responded with a joking tone. Though deep down, he really didn't want to say anything of this particular subject. I mean, how am I supposed to do so, he thought to himself with a hint of shame. After all, he wasn't just the source of all his pain, but he was the manifestation of negative emotions. But before Naruto could ask Kyubi for anything else, said Uchiha interrupted him. You want another hint, Naruto-kun? Satsuki then playfully asked with a giggle, though inwardly felt bad for the blonde with not being able to figure it out. But before she realized it, Naruto dived straight at her, being careful not to toss any of the food into the air, and held her hand with a desperate look on his face. Yeah, of course I would, Sats Yuki-chan. So for the love of Kami, please tell me, databao. He soon exclaimed his answer as his face was practically in tears while also being unaware of where he currently was. By this sudden action and the very close contact, however, immediately made Satsuki blush scarlet at what was happening. Oh, well, she tried to respond, but the blood in her face was making it hard for her brain to work any coherent words as she started to look from side to side, anywhere to not look at Naruto's face. See, cute, she unintentionally thought, but that was quickly halted when she realized the situation she was in. Wait, this isn't the time for that. I have to make Naruto-kun find out about Hinata-chan so that they could be together, not to be lost in his really handsome, she began to state in her mind, only for her eyes to wander back to Naruto's blue eyes and having her mind wander back into them, instantly getting lost in his gaze. He is pretty handsome, she then dumbly admitted in her mind as her blush became pink. Baka Sakura wasted your chance on an incredible guy, she then mumbled out, lucky that said guy didn't hear him. Naruto however tilted his head as he looked at the female in front of him. Hey Satsuki-chan, are you alright? He asked as he got off the table without letting go of her hand and stood right in front of her. You feel a little warm, databao, he then stated as he placed a hand to her forehead as he looked straight at her eyes. The QB could only watch at this with a baffled expression. Wow, if it wasn't for the fact that I know that the kid is as dense as a diamond, I would say he's a total lady killer, he merely thought to himself with a sweat drop. And I haven't even done anything to his pheromones, he then added as he was honestly amazed by his container's natural lady killer skills. If it wasn't for the fact that the girls had long hair, black instead of white eyes and a much more developed body, one would have mistaken Satsuki for Hinata that was in front of the blonde as her body turned crimson red from embarrassment. And Naruto-kun, you're a bit close, the Uchiha then just barely got out. Not that I mind that, she then thought, instantly causing her crimson blush to return. This statement made Naruto instantly realize what he was doing. The blonde blushed and released her as if she was on fire. Oh. Sorry about that. He got out as he took a step back, just missing the disappointing look on the Uchiha's face when the blonde had released her hand. But I wanted him to keep holding me. Satsuki then whined in her head while giving a cute pout, but that didn't last before her eyes widened as she realized what she just said in her head. Where did that come from? She then thought in a panic at fully realizing her previous thoughts. Oh. It's no problem, Naruto-kun, she declared awkwardly as she still had a flushed face. So about that second hint, well, shy. She then stated as she wanted to move on from this subject. Naruto in response gave a deadpan expression at the so-called hint. Okay, I'll need way more than that. I don't even know that many shy girls. The only ones I know are all fangirls, he shouted with pure annoyance as he thought Satsuki was playing with him, though he knew deep down she wouldn't do that to him, so he didn't felt bad. Satsuki and Kyubi literally then smacked her forehead at the blonde's denseness as their eyes twitched with uncontrollable from annoyance. It's Hinata Hyuga Naruto Kuen/Kit, they both then exclaimed in surprising unison. At that point, Naruto just stood there with a stupefied expression as his brain was slowly processing what he was just told. Then he felt as if a giant weight that read 10,000 tons fell on his head along with another even bigger weight that had the word idiot on it. Wawayut, he shouted as he comically pushed off the weights of him. Satsuki then calmed herself down as she nodded. Yeah, wow, I'm not saying you should just go out with her, I'm just saying that you should at least give her a chance, Naruto-kun, she told him with honesty. I mean, unlike Sakura, who is just obsessed with Sasuke, Hinata-chan's been waiting patiently, and without giving up hope that you will someday notice her. She then admitted in a more serious tone. Sorry, Hinata-chan, but he really did need to learn it immediately, or you would have to suffer waiting without knowing if he did like you or not, she thought, hoping that the Hyuga would forgive her. Naruto saw still to shock about this that he really didn't know what to think. But upon hearing that Hinata been waiting for him to just notice her while he completely ignored her entire existence, made him feel like, bet you feel like an asshole now, huh, Kit? Kyubi then remarked, finishing what his container was feeling. Now you shall suffer for your consequences and wake up already. Wahaha. He then added as an attempt at a joke. Naruto only dropped his head to the demon fox's statement before he suddenly started to think about time he seen Hinata and started blushing. But he then finally recalled that she was probably the only person their age group, before being friends with Satsuki, that actually saw him with kindness instead of the regular hatred or annoyance. Crap, I've been ignoring such a nice girl, he muttered, now feeling depressed and guilty at this revelation as he could have made a friend much sooner if he wasn't so ignorant. Satsuki immediately noticed this as she placed a hand on his shoulder. It's alright, Naruto-kun, she reassured as this got the blonde's attention. Maybe you can make it up to her at one point, she suggested as she was soon deep in thought before looking at Naruto, who just nodded as he began to think of ways to make up to the shy girl. Could I ask you something, Naruto-kun? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, the Uchiha then asked all of a sudden in a nervous tone. This snapped Naruto's self-induced trance as he paid full attention to Satsuki. Yes, sure, what is it that you want to know, Satsuki-chan? He asked as he tilted his head in confusion. Satsuki began blushing when she saw him tilt his head to the side. So cute, no. Pay attention, Satsuki, she thought with seriousness. She took a deep breath as she knew this question could be considered very private and even invasive to the blonde's privacy. I wanted to know when your bloodline activated. How did it just come into existence? She soon asked. The Kyubi remained quiet as this was Naruto's decision. It's your choice, Kit. Hope it's something he won't regret later on, he thought to himself. This slightly startled Naruto by the sudden question. Well, it's a bit of a complicated issue, and I don't think I am at liberty to tell anyone, but I promise to tell you when the time is right, okay, Satsuki-chan? Naruto responded with his own question and request. Satsuki frowned, but she already knew that it really wasn't a thing that someone could just answer. Naruto-kun, I understand, but since we're friends now and I exposed my secret to you, so I just thought that she started explaining until she started to hear their stomachs growl again, causing the Uchiha to sigh. Alright, Naruto-kun, I'll respect your decision and hold you to your promise to tell me later. Now come on, eat up. We'll need our strength for today, she then reminded. Naruto nodded in agreement as he sat back down. Yeah, you're right. Let's eat. I'm starving, he responded in excitement. The two then looked at their respective plates of food. Down the hatch, they said in unison as then began their prolonged breakfast. But just as Satsuki took a bite, she realized something. After swallowing, she placed a hand on her mouth as she recognized the taste. Oh no! This is dash, she thought as she looked at Naruto, who already took a bite, and also already chewed and swallowed. Whoops, she then muttered with a sweat drop. Naruto blinked a few times before his face slowly began to turn completely dark red. Hot 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 hutit, he yelled multiple times as he comically started to breathe fire from his mouth while he held his burning throat with both hands. Water, he soon exclaimed his request with a scratchy voice. Satsuki quickly got up from her seat as she went to the fridge, rummaging through it. Juice, meats, eggs, aha, she responded as she took out a carton of milk and shook it well to hear its content. Alright, it's not past the expiration date, she said as she handed the milk to Naruto. Here, Naruto-kun, drink this, she then ordered. Naruto instantly took the carton and drank the entire thing in quick big gulps, while calming down in the process as well. When he finished and placed the carton down, he started to breath heavily as silly-looking milk mustache was on top of his swollen red lips. Mind explaining? He then asked with difficulty thanks to his swollen lips. Satsuki couldn't help but to giggle at both the milk mustache and the red lips. Sorry about that. You see, the Uchiha have a certain way to prepare themselves for learning fire-style ninjutsu before learning the hand signs. You could say it's a family tradition, so to speak, and you just experienced it. She explained. Naruto stopped panting as he continued. By feeding them extremely spicy food that could permanently burn their tongues? He then asked. Satsuki blushed a little while chuckling with embarrassment. Yeah, ironically it worked as our mouths gets used to intense heat. She soon admitted. A bead of sweat trickled down Naruto's cheek from the heat. Yeah, and I think I already know what happens when it doesn't work. He joked out. Satsuki couldn't help but giggle at the blonde's current state. Here, at least wipe away the milk mustache, she offered in a motherly tone, and without thinking, as she took her mother's old handkerchief out of her pocket and began wiping Naruto's upper lip, causing the blonde's entire face to turn red from the close contact. Satsuki stood there watching for a moment, seeing this as she wiped Naruto's upper lip, but once she saw his expression, she instantly figured what he was thinking, as it was now her turn to have her face blush bright red. She then quickly shot back and she placed her handkerchief back in her pocket and began flail her arms. Sorry, Naruto-kun. I wasn't thinking, she exclaimed, her reasoning as she quickly tried to think of something to say. Here, why don't I make you something a little less spicy? She then panickingly offered to try and get rid of the awkward situation between the two genin. It took Naruto a few moments to recover from this little exchange, but he soon did and blinked a few times. She's pretty adorable when she panics, he thought without really thinking what he was thinking. Not your average Uchiha, that's for sure. Very interesting, Kyubi then admitted. Next thing you'll see is her trying to be flirty and seductive toward you, Kit, he then stated, not really thinking it would happen. Naruto was still a little baffled that he really didn't pay much attention to the biju. He then soon shook his head, rejecting the offer from the girl. Nah, it's alright, Satsuki-chan, he responded before turning back around in his seat. He then grabbed the spoon and took another bite of the special curry, cringing at the delicious, but deadly, flavor. It may be hot as hell, but it's really delicious, he commented with a happy grin, and then continued to eat more. Satsuki's eyes went wide again as she watched the blonde eat more of the curry. Why you think it's good? But it could really burn your tongue, she asked, noticeably worried for him, though she couldn't help but blush at him complimenting her cooking. Again, Naruto only shook his head in rejecting the order. No, I really mean it, Satsuki-chan, it's really good, Dadabayo, he replied yet again, then lowered his gaze at the food while having a very sad yet happy look in his eyes. And this is the first time anyone's made me something to eat besides Ichiraku. I really want to eat it. Besides you making it for us, it would be rude of me to not be able to finish the food you took time to prepare, he said with a very sincere tone as he then flashed her his famous goofy grin, causing Satsuki's blush to grow darker. Besides, there's no way I'm letting food this good go to waste, even if it is spicy, he declared happily. Damn it, Kit, you're too nice for your own good, Kyubi then remarked while rolling his eyes as he could literally feel the heat that Naruto was feeling that began to sweat from it. Now I gotta heal him from the heat, he added in annoyance, as he began to fan himself with his tails. Satsuki couldn't believe it. Not a minute ago, she watched Naruto screaming at the top of his lungs, but now he was scarfing the same food down, all the while refusing to let her throw it away for something else. She could easily tell he still couldn't handle the heat, but he continued eating until his plate was clean. He really eating it, all of it. Even I wasn't able to eat even half of it when my mom first gave it to me. She then got out as she couldn't believe it, the food that she once suffered for days to get used to. The blonde was eating it like natural. Although Satsuki was worried that Naruto may end up having his taste buds messed up by the intensely spicy food, she couldn't help but felt a strange warmth filling it up as she watched Naruto continue eating, and once he was finished she picked up his plate and placed it in the sink. Naruto-kun really liked it, she thought unintentionally, and she felt pride for the cooking her mother had taught her. You're such a sweet guy, I was such a fool not to realize it, she then praised in her head with honesty. Naruto was still smiling that it made him look a bit creepy. Satsuki-chan? He then got out suddenly. At the sudden mention of her name made Satsuki's heart skip a beat as Naruto turned his head towards her with a plate in her hands, wondering what he could wanted to tell her. Why yes? She soon responded in a stuttering tone. Naruto's smile was turning one that was being forced as sweat began to fall all over his face, as he had to held on the table as he almost fell over as he looked at the female Uchiha. Got any more milk? He then painfully asked as it was clear that his mouth was burning worse than before, with it looking like he was about to pass out from overheating. Satsuki blinked for a moment as her brain tried to process the request. When that was done her face turned of pure shock. What? She got out as she quickly ran back to her fridge, rummaging around for something to douse the flames her curry had created. Luckily for Naruto, Satsuki had a single-serve bottle of milk left. Here. Take it, Naruto-kun, she said as she gave the remaining milk to the blonde. Naruto quickly took it and began to drink it. It didn't completely cool him down, but it was good enough that he wouldn't pass out from the intense heat. Thanks Satsuki-chan, huff. He soon started panting. Once Satsuki saw that the blonde's face had more or less returned to normal, she gave a sigh of relief. Why did you eat that? I told you it was too spicy and I meant it. It was my family's curry, the Uchiha's fire-style training curry. She then panicking and worriedly asked. Naruto just looked up at her from his seat, one arm lazily draped over his chair while the other, holding his empty milk container, sat on her table. I just told you, didn't I, Satsuki-chan? I really wanted to eat what you made me. He simply explained as one of his true smiles appeared on his face. To that answer, all Satsuki could do was stare at the blonde, not believing what he had just said, or rather what he had just repeated. It was such a simple and stupid reason to burn his mouth with a clan's special curry, a clan that specializes in fire-style ninjutsu no less. Suddenly Satsuki started giggling, which once again turned into full-on laughter again. Naruto stared at her as she continued laughing, one thought floating through his mind. She looks so carefree when she laughs like this. Her laugh seems so bright and warm. He thought with a smile as he really liked seeing this side of the female Uchiha. As Satsuki calmed down, she looked at Naruto with her own smile on her face. Alright, maybe next time I'll make it mild so you don't almost die from the heat, she then kindly responded. This shocked Naruto at the possibility of getting another home-cooked meal. While he did like the ramen from Ikamaru's, this was the first time to had ever gotten food from a friend, so that's why he had to make sure this was real. There's gonna be a next time? Naruto thought with hope appearing in his heart. Satsuki happily nodded to what she possibly knew what the boy was thinking. Of course, that is if you want to do something like this again, she said with a blush while removing her apron and placing it in the hall closet. Satsuki walked towards her bedroom to get the last of her gear. You'd better hurry up. I doubt you'll have time to get home and to the academy in 10 minutes. She soon reminded as she saw the clock on the living room. Oh, also, we better act like asses that hate each other at the academy so we don't draw any unwanted attention to ourselves. She then added, though she disliked the idea of acting like that since they were now friends. Naruto gave a sad smile as he felt the same way as the female Uchiha, but knew it was for the best. Of course Satsuki-chan and I would definitely love to come over again, Databayo, he said happily to the offer before something clicked in his head, then his face turned to panic. Crap. I really do only have 10 minutes until class, he thought to himself. Satsuki was fine since all she had to do was place her Sasuke's clothing and do a hand sign and she was finished getting ready. That and fact that she only lived 5 minutes away from the academy also helped her. While you have to run back to your crappy apartment, huh? Kyubi stated with a smirk on his face. Naruto wanted to retort but knew he didn't have the time, so he made a run back to his apartment, grab some more ninja tools, and get to the academy before he was late. You're right, Satsuki-chan. I gotta get going, he replied as he quickly stood up and without even thinking he gave the female Uchiha a goodbye hug and left through a window, dashing towards his apartment with no time to waste. On the rooftops, Naruto was running at full speed while jumping on the rooftops so that no one would spot him leaving Satsuki's apartment. You realize you just hugged her, right? Kyubi then remarked with a smirk. Upon hearing this, Naruto stopped mid-step. Unfortunately his was in mid-air too. Aya! He screamed as he came crashing down on a dumpster. Luckily it was empty so he didn't land in the smelly garbage. Again OW. That fucking hurt. You did that on purpose, didn't you, Databayo? He roared in pain. Nope, you did that on your own, kid. So how was the feel of her massive chest? Kyubi stated before asking that question with a smirk. You mean the pain from having crashed down a 2-story building and land on my chest on this trash bin? Then yes, it fucking hurts. Naruto replied as he completely missed on what the biju meant as he came down said trash can. The biju just sighed at the completely oblivious host's dense head. I meant the girl's chest, you idiot. You've already seen it naked a couple of times now. Kyubi then thought with deadpan face. Bloodline Jujutsu clan girls always seem to get the massive chests or butts for some reason, must be the genes. He added. Seeing that he was far enough from Satsuki's apartment, Naruto then quickly made his way through some busy streets before he felt another one, the clones he created hours ago. Dispel. Wow, my clones really don't know the meaning of holding back, he commented as he held his head, while he felt really dizzy from the rush of knowledge flow in his brain, but nevertheless he continued moving as he couldn't afford to be late. Meanwhile back in the Uchiha's apartment, Satsuki in turn stood in the spot she was in, trying to figure out what Naruto had just did before it came to her. He hugged me. She blushed crimson as she rubbed her arms, smiling a bit in a goofy kind of way. He does care for me, she said in realization. Thank you so much, Naruto-kun. Maybe you won't have to be alone anymore, she said as she gave off a very goofy smile and having a small blush as well. She then remembered what Naruto had thought of what had happened between her and Sakura, as her imagination running wild and a thought bubble began to form on top of her head. Satsuki's imagination? Naruto had violently thrown Satsuki onto her bed as she had a slightly frightened face as Naruto held her in place. What are you going to do with me, Naruto-kun? She timidly asked, not even trying to defend herself. Naruto on the other hand smirked as she held on both Satsuki's arms while licking his lips. What do you think, Satsuki-chan? He began to say in a deep low tone that sent shivers down Satsuki's spine. I'll give you what you wish for, he declared as he lowered his head towards her. Satsuki's eyes widened to that as she looked at the male closing in on her. What I wish for? She asked with a trembling tone as fright and excitement filled her soul. This made Naruto smirk again, as he liked seeing the Uchiha tremble. I can tell that you are beginning to like Minoru. You want me to take you, don't you, Satsuki-chan? He revealed as he released one of his hands and started cupping her breast with it, rubbing it ever so gently. Satsuki gasped at the touch, but didn't try to stop it with her free hand as it instead grabbed her bed tightly. But we just met each other, Naruto-kun, she got out in a meek tone. Naruto merely purred to that as his shirt suddenly vanished. Then why is it that you sound like Hinata-chan? He asked as he gave her breast a squeeze. Satsuki gasped even louder than last time, not realizing that her own clothes suddenly vanished as well. She barely got out. Just end your facade and come after mites what you truly desirito, be a true woman, Naruto then said in a tempting tone. Satsuki kept repeating as she then let out a loud shout of ecstasy. Yes. She then suddenly screamed with pleasure. The bubble began to retreat itself inside back of Satsuki's head as she continued to stay stasis, as she kept the dazed look on her face. Yeah, that would be nice, she dumbly got out while drool began to fall from her mouth. Me and Naruto-kun, she got out as her eyes became dazed at the thought of such a thing happening. But then another thought came to mind when she remembered something the imaginary Naruto said. Like Hinata, she got out as her bubble came out again. Satsuki's imagination part 2. Eep. A meek female voice got out. The single arm pinned down Satsuki soon turned to the source of the sound and gasped at who it was. Hinata-chan. She got out in shock and embarrassment at being seen in such a way. The blushing Hyuga could only watch as her hands were on her cheeks while they were crimson red. WWW, what are you two doing? Hinata asked as she couldn't stop watching. Naruto smirked, turned into one of a predator, as he let go of Satsuki and stalked at the blushing Hyuga. Once he was right in front of the embarrassed girl, he used his hand raised her chin to look at him. We were waiting for you, Hinata-chan, he declared in a deeper, even more tempting tone of voice. Me. Hinata struggled to say as her face turned even darker shades of red while not noticing her clothes had vanished as well. Then Naruto picked her up in his arms and went back to the bed as the poor girl was too embarrassed to even do anything. He placed Hinata next to the Uchiha, liking the view of both beautiful girls side by side as he suddenly had a container of whipped cream in his hands. Now where were we? He asked the baffled Uchiha as he shook the container. Said Uchiha meanwhile didn't even try to move from the bed as she was too dazed while she was lost in thought that she didn't even realize that she grabbed Hinata's breasts, while said girl moaned with ecstasy or the fact that she too was now naked. When the bubble retracted once more into Satsuki's head, she began to giggle in a very perverted way. She got out as her drool only increased in volume. Then she finally snapped out of her self-induced trance as she cleaned her drool with her sleeve. Wait. She then began as her face turned dark shade of red. What the hell am I even thinking something like that? I've never thought of anything like that before, she exclaimed in a panic, shocked at even those kind of thoughts appeared in her head. I gotta get ready. She then added as she began to change into her Sasuke disguised. What if Naruto has harem with Hinata x FemSasuke x Tenten Council bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.